What kind of attack is this? It can actually avoid the defenses of magical arts. Long Chen saw Cloud's attack clearly. If its attack merely destroyed the defenses, that was one thing. After all, it was a cloud-chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow. But when Cloud's claw reached the shield, it was like some mysterious energy had allowed it phase through the shield to land on the rank 6 celestial's body. The heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples had powerful magical arts, but their physical bodies were very weak. It was a fatal weakness, and so this rank 6 celestial was instantly killed. Long Chen had no time to reflect on this. After a brief moment of shock, he shot into motion, charging at the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples who were now panicked and running in every direction. Long Chen's arrival instantly reversed the tide. The enemy's 2 top experts were instantly killed, and the remaining ones had no will to continue fighting. They fled, but with Cloud present, fleeing was in vain. With a flap of its wings, it transformed into a rainbow-colored light that swept back and forth, killing the ones who had fled the furthest. Stop. We're disciples from the heaven-suppressing magic sect. If you kill us, the heaven-suppressing magic sect won't let you off. One of them was killed in the midst of his shouting by one of the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples. That disciple cursed, "Fuck off. You can kill us, but we can't kill you." With Cloud blocking others from fleeing and Long Chen slaughtering anyone remaining, the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples rapidly fell. No matter how powerful they were, no matter what technique they used, Long Chen would kill them with a single slash of his saber. They were quickly whittled down to just over 200 people. In truth, even at the start, there hadn't been many of them. They had simply relied on a combination magical art to trap all the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples. Perhaps in a one-on-one, the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples were still slightly weaker, but now they had over 10 times their number now. The Xiantian Dao sect's disciples were slaughtering the panicked heaven-suppressing magic sect disciples. Long Chen, do you still recognize this bastard? The battle ended quickly. All of the attackers had been killed except for one that Wang Jin had captured alive. As soon as Long Chen saw that person, he slapped him across the face and nodded. I recognize him. We'll leave him to Hua Xiu. I'm sure the Heaven Female Alliance has many methods to make him live a life worse than death. If we kill him, it'd be a waste. Do you want to do a soul search? Asked Wang Zhen. A soul search could allow them to learn why the heaven-suppressing magic sect had suddenly attacked the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples. Long Chen shook his head. A core disciple like this is under the protection of his sect's divine item. It's the same as the Xiantian Tower blessing we received when we joined. Others are unable to use soul search to see their secrets, and forcing it will end up killing him without learning anything. Time is still pressing, so I'll mark a path. Bring your people to meet up with the Dragon Blood Legion. My guess is that you're not the only one who's being attacked. I'm going to group up with Hua Xiu. As soon as Long Chen finished speaking, he called back Cloud and the 2 of them vanished in a ray of light. Seeing Long Chen leave, a slightly forlorn expression appeared on Wang Zhen's face. When it came to leading people, he could only stare at Long Chen's back. He's a true leader. Guild head, Long Chen's a leader, but you're also a leader. You're both equally outstanding in our hearts. You sacrificed so many of your house pets that you raised for many years because of us, and even risked your life to hold back those 2 rank 6 celestials. Just that is enough for us to follow you forever. Even if we had to choose again, we'd still follow you. Cried a disciple. The other disciples also stood up and agreed. Wang Zhen was a rare insect cultivator, and his house pets were like his life. But in order to reduce his people's casualties, he had lost practically all of them. And yet, he hadn't even frowned before doing so. That touched all of them. Good brother, there's no need for such words between us. Let's go gather with the Dragon Blood Legion. Seeing all these disciples looking at him with zealotry, Wang Zhen was moved. He had always been a somewhat icy person. He had merely established the 10,000 Insect Guild because it was part of his duties as a core disciple. Beyond that, he had never had any wild thoughts of fighting for supremacy. But Long Chen had changed Wang Zhen's way of thinking, as every member of the Dragon Blood Legion was following Long Chen to the death. Thus, for the first time in his life, Wang Zhen thought of leading a group of people that he could treat as life and death brothers. Later, he was fully convinced by Long Chen's charisma, but at the same time, he was feeling more and more ashamed of himself, feeling like he wasn't a capable leader. However, today, he could feel the trust and support that all his people gave him. Just like Long Chen, he also had a group of hot-blooded brothers that were loyal to him. Wang Zhen began to lead them according to the direction Long Chen had indicated. As for Long Chen, he was rushing straight to Hua Shiyu's position with Cloud. Fortunately, the distance between them wasn't that far. Cloud quickly reached Hua Shiyu's group with its peak speed. "What are you doing here, Long Chen?" Hua Shiyu was surprised to see him arrive. "My Dragon Blood Legion has too many men, making life too boring." "Hee hee, you understand," joked Long Chen. Long Chen jumped onto their flying boat while leaving Cloud to hide itself above the clouds. Perhaps he had arrived too early. But that was good in any case. Hua Shiyu didn't know what was going on, as the distress signal had only gone out to Long Chen's Master Jade Tablet. Hua Shiyu was capable of using her Jade Tablet to send out a distress call, but she couldn't receive it. Their Jade Tablets were only able to sense each other's locations. There was no way around it. If all their tablets could receive distress signals, their effective range would have to be greatly shortened. In order to keep their range as great as possible, their flexibility had to be reduced. "Aren't you worried about Meng Qi and Wan Er coming to find you?" Hua Shiyu might not like any men, but she treated Long Chen differently. She actually joked back. I'm not afraid. But in any case, they'll never know," laughed Long Chen. It was unknown whether or not it was because of the touching that had occurred last time, but Hua Shiyu was much warmer to him now. Long Chen's arrival caused the Heaven Female Alliance's disciples to erupt into cheering, and they charged over. That made Hua Shiyu roar, "Are you all done with your work? Have all the sea demons been killed? Or you don't even care about this chance to make money?" Long Chen is the Xiantian Dao sect's most outstanding figure. If his wise eyes start to favor one of us, who would care about points? They'd be nothing in comparison, hee hee. Some of the women immediately retorted. Although Hua Shiyu was icy to outsiders, especially men, she treated her own people very well. After being together for so long, her disciples had long since realized her character. Her exterior was like a blade, but her heart was soft inside. They weren't afraid at all. "Senior apprentice brother Long Chen, when are you going to win over our alliance master? Then all the Heaven Female Alliance's beauties would attend to you." One of the particularly brazen maidens shouted such a valiant thing. Long Chen was struck dumb. There was such a possibility? By winning over one, he'd win over tens of thousands of other beauties? No, there was no way he could think of such a thing. But if he didn't think of it, wouldn't he be less than a beast? Hua Shiyu turned red, and she searched for the person who had just shouted. But that woman was smart, and she had run immediately after shouting. "Haha, the Xiantian Dao sect's women are all here? Excellent. Not one of you will get away today. Brothers, we'll be able to play to our heart's content tonight." Suddenly, a huge flying boat appeared in front of them without any warning. Buzz. Over 10,000 figures appeared in the air, and each one of them waved a staff. Together, they formed a spherical barrier to envelop the whole Heaven Female Alliance. At the same time, ice began to float in the air, condensing into huge icicles that sealed the world. "Girls from the Xiantian Dao sect, come receive your guests." Just as the Heaven Female Alliance's disciples were shocked and panicked, a group of people appeared outside the barrier. Seeing the person speaking, Long Chen narrowed his eyes. It was once more a familiar person. This was the person with the disgusting mouth who had fought against Tanghua. Although he was masked, he didn't conceal his voice at all. "You're that bastard from the heaven-suppressing magic sect. Don't think we won't recognize you just because you're wearing a mask," shouted the Heaven Female Alliance's disciples. Long Chen shook his head. Perhaps he had done this on purpose in order to make the Heaven Female Alliance's women guess their status. Then they would think this was a battle, not a slaughter. Long Chen saw that whether it was Hua Shiyu or Zhao Ziyan, no one had recognized the severity of this attack. Right now, they were all just furiously cursing at the figures outside the barrier. If they had immediately launched an all-out attack when the barrier first formed, there would have been a chance to escape. But that chance vanished quickly. By guessing their opponent's status, they lost sight of the fact that they were currently in a death trap. Long Chun couldn't help but feel a bit helpless. Perhaps Wang Zhen had also been baited like this. Taking advantage of when they were shocked and still didn't understand, their death trap was perfectly set up. By the time they understood, it would be too late. Long Chun continued to hide amongst the crowd. None of these attackers had seen him yet. And at this moment, another figure appeared outside the barrier, one that caused Hua Shiyu and the others' expressions to change. This person was wearing a conical hat that blocked his face. Furthermore, this conical hat was a special tool that isolated him from divine sense. But Hua Shiyu, Zhao Ziyan, and all the others knew who he was. Han Zhenyu. Their hearts shook. They hadn't expected Han Zhenyu to appear here. A large hand tore off the hat, revealing a scalp that looked like centipedes were wriggling all over it. He was indeed the heaven-suppressing magic sect's strongest expert of the junior generation, Han Zhenyu. Back then, Han Zhenyu's cultivation base had been at the 3rd heaven stage of foundation forging. But today, he was already at the 7th heaven stage. His terrifying aura could be sensed even through the barrier, causing all of them to tremble. Han Zhenyu was a rank 7 celestial and had an innate suppression over lower-ranking celestials. As soon as he released his aura, he made them all feel like a mountain was crushing their hearts. It was hard to breathe under that pressure. If you don't want to die, then obediently surrender. We don't want your lives. We just want to have a chat with the Xiantian Dao sect, said Han Zhenyu. What would you chat about? You came all the way to the Xiantian Dao sect's defensive region to sneak attack us. It's clearly a premeditated provocation, so what is there to talk about? Replied Hua Shiyu coldly. Long Chun continued to hide himself. He secretly told Hua Shiyu to speak with Han Zhenyu to see if they could dredge up any useful information. Since you want to die, don't blame us for being ruthless. Han Zhenyu frowned and extended his hand. The 7 stars reflect on the runic sea manifestation appeared behind him, causing heaven and earth to tremble. Senior apprentice brother Han, these are all beauties. Killing them would be too regretful. Is it possible for us? That disciple who had once fought Tang Wan'er pled with him. I'll give you an incense stick's worth of time. If you can't capture them, kill them all, ordered Han Zhenyu after a moment of hesitation. Many thanks, senior apprentice brother Han. Don't worry, that prettiest one will be yours. Hua Shiyu's expression was ashen. She was unable to comprehend how these heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples that were also part of the righteous path could be so despicable. What she didn't know was that the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples didn't cultivate the Tao. They cultivated magical arts. Their requirements for the physical body were low, and they focused more on spiritual strength. To a man, having a weak physical body could be a fatal blow to their confidence. Which man didn't want to have the strongest body? But they didn't have that. No matter how powerful their magical arts were, they weren't able to make up for that feeling of inferiority at the bottom of their hearts. People who felt inferior normally wanted to show how amazing they were in front of everyone to cover up the weakness in their hearts. So the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples were all arrogant and insulted others to display their strength. Other than insulting and looking down on others, they had another way to build up their self-esteem. And that involved women. When they subdued a woman, they would feel a kind of comfort, especially when it was a strong woman. The stronger the woman they subdued, the more pride they would feel. Therefore, a lot of the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples had their heads filled with lecherous thoughts. To put it frankly, their hearts were a bit twisted. They were a bit better than the eunuchs in the royal palace, but only a bit. Now seeing all these women, all of them had a lecherous light in their eyes. Certain places were already bulging. Only by subduing powerful women could they feel like men. Brothers, it's up to your own abilities. 10,000 spirit restrictions. Following the shout from the first disciple, the other disciples waved their staves, and over 10,000 illusory spirit beasts appeared out of the barrier. There were wolves, insects, tigers, leopards, birds, and fish. Each person was controlling one. Suddenly, the barrier brightened and the beasts roared. Even though they were protected by the flying boat's defenses, the Heaven Female Alliance's disciples felt like they were about to faint. That had been a sound wave attack. Trapped within the barrier, the sound waves repeatedly echoed. And as they continued unleashing this attack, the magnitude only grew more intense. Seeing the beauties holding their ears with pained expressions, all the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples smiled lecherously. They didn't even notice a large figure slowly approaching them. An azure light condensed in the air. Its sound was blocked out by the sound waves of their magical arts. Han Zhenyu, it's been a while. Is your face still well? Long Chen's voice contained a special energy that made it resound over the sound waves. It was far more domineering than the sound waves. His voice was like a dragon's roar, and it even caused the barrier to shake. Long Chen didn't know any sound wave attacks, so he had merely backed his voice with the power of his spiritual yuan. The attacking disciples lost the ability to hear anything for a while just from how loud his voice was. Seeing Long Chen, all the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples' pupils shrank, and Han Zhenyu's expression changed. He had never imagined that Long Chen would be hiding amongst the women. A feeling of unease suddenly rose from his heart. Something's up, ordered Han Zhenyu. Regretfully, the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples were still unable to hear anything after Long Chen's roar. A huge azure light smashed into the barrier, instantly blowing it apart. The azure light also exploded, unleashing berserk energy. The disciples were all located at different parts of the barrier. But this explosion of the azure light, this one attack, instantly killed half of them. The disciples who were far away enough to escape the explosion were still injured by the backlash of the barrier exploding, and they wildly vomited blood. This attack was naturally from Cloud. Thousands of the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples had been killed in one blow. The Heaven Female Alliance's disciples still didn't know what was happening. Long Chen had already arrived in front of Han Zhenyu. Blood Drinker pointed toward the sky. Han Zhenyu, let me see how much you've progressed during this time to dare come seeking death again. Han Zhenyu found himself locked down by Long Chen's saber. Not daring to be careless, he hastily took out his golden sword. Han Zhenyu was sent flying, shocked. Even though he had reached the late Foundation Forging realm, he was still unable to use his superior cultivation base to suppress Long Chen. Although Long Chen was only at the third heaven stage of Foundation Forging, he had spent 550 million yuan spirit stones to reach that level. His 108,000 immortal platforms gave him immense power. Even Long Chen didn't know how powerful he was now. After sending Han Zhenyu flying with one blow, Long Chen looked back at Hua Shiyu and the others who were still dumbstruck. Kill them all? You don't need to worry about them running because Cloud will kill them. I'll cut down this idiot Han Zhenyu. Long Chen was already after him. Han Zhenyu had his manifestation active, and a golden giant appeared behind him. It held a golden sword. This golden sword was the king item sword he had used before. Now he had given it to this giant. I'll let you see my golden battle general's power, roared Han Zhenyu. He flew to the head of the golden giant. Forming hand seals, he sat directly on its forehead. Suddenly, the golden giant swung his sword and sneered, Long Chen, this is a magical art I just learned. Today, I'll use you to practice with it, letting you be the first person to be killed by my golden battle general. Long Chen was a bit surprised. Han Zhenyu had actually merged with his golden giant to better control it. It was his first time seeing such a magical art. Die! Han Zhenyu roared and slashed the giant golden sword at Long Chen. Long Chen sneered, You're the one who will die. His divine ring appeared behind him, and 4 stars appeared in his eyes. Blood Drinker slashed out. Boom! Huge waves exploded on the sea and soared up into the sky. The other fighting disciples hastily circulated their spiritual yuan to defend against the impact. The Heaven Female Alliance's disciples were surprised to see that the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples were taking out shields to block the sea waves. They actually stopped attacking. Their physical bodies are weak. Kill them! Cried one of the Heaven Female Alliance's disciples. Ignoring the waves, she unleashed a full-strength sword attack. "Bitch, you've gone mad. You'll also die like this," roared the disciple being attacked. "Then let's see who will die." The female disciple ignored his cry. Her sword shattered that person's defense, and at the same time, they were struck by the terrifying sea wave. She vomited blood and shot back, while the heaven-suppressing magic sex disciple was directly blown to bits by the wave. The Heaven Female Alliance's disciples' eyes brightened. This was a good chance. They all ignored the waves to unleash full-strength attacks and were heavily injured by them. But the heaven-suppressing magic sex disciples who had their defenses broken were all torn apart. Quite a few of their souls flew out and tried to escape, but the female disciples unleashed powerful spiritual magical arts that completely extinguished them. Hua Xiyu and Zhao Ziyan were going all out to kill them all. Both of them were fighting against hundreds of them at the same time, and it went without saying that they were powerful. They were temporarily tied. Split the heavens 3. Blood Drinker hacked down, smashing into the golden sword. Boom. When Blood Drinker met the golden giant's sword, the sea beneath them exploded, and huge waves blocked the sun. The golden giant was sent flying by Long Chen's attack. Cracks appeared on its body, but they quickly healed. The 7 stars reflect on the runic sea behind the golden giant was giving it endless energy. Die! Long Chen's roar was like thunder through the air. He repeatedly slashed Blood Drinker out, unleashing waves of blood-red light. His 108,000 immortal platforms were giving him boundless strength, and he felt like he couldn't even use up all his energy. Each of his attacks came faster and more vicious than the last. This was his first time truly fighting after reaching the 3rd heaven stage of foundation forging. Therefore, he didn't dare to immediately raise his power to the peak. He was worried about his body not being able to endure such a sudden leap. That was because even he didn't know how terrifying the energy within his 108,000 original runes was. He needed to increase his power bit by bit. Each of his blows had the weight of a mountain, causing huge waves to explode out of the sea. "Bastard, how are you so strong?" Han Zhenyu was infuriated. The first time they had fought, he had merely been at the early foundation forging realm. After his defeat, he had gone all out increasing his cultivation base, advancing to the 7th heaven stage in just a few months. He had practically caught up to the previous generation's disciples. His battle power had multiplied, but now he found that Long Chen was suppressing him without his green dragon battle armor. Each of Long Chen's attacks was difficult for him to bear. Han Zhenyu finally roared, and the 7 stars reflect on the runic sea disappeared. All that energy poured into his body. His blood chi suddenly erupted, and his golden giant turned red as he summoned his spirit blood. Blood-colored runes covered its body. Die! Han Zhenyu held his sword with both hands. It pointed toward the sky and then slashed down. Boom! Blood Drinker slashed into Han Zhenyu's golden sword, and immense power erupted like a volcano. Long Chen's immortal platforms began to revolve faster and faster, giving him inexhaustible energy. Huge sea waves surged out, containing their energy. Hua Xiyu was shocked and was just about to tell everyone to defend when she suddenly heard Zhao Ziyan's voice. "I'll block it. We'll borrow Long Chen's power to annihilate all of them." The heaven-suppressing magic sex disciples saw these terrifying waves and hastily retreated. They gave up attacking, and all of them gathered together. Now there were only 3,000 of them left. Using their powerful magical arts, they continued struggling. But these huge waves were absolutely terrifying. They contained the terrifying power of both Long Chen and Han Zhenyu. Let alone the physical body, even steel would be torn to bits. Under the command of 3 rank 6 celestials, all the heaven-suppressing magic sex disciples gathered and combined their energy to block this terrifying impact. Now wasn't the time for either side to continue fighting. It was all up to who would be able to endure this terrifying wave. But as all the heaven-suppressing magic sex disciples chanted and waved their staves, a huge spherical barrier appeared around them. That barrier had only just appeared when another one condensed around it. Then a third and a fourth, until there were 9 barriers protecting them. Damn sluts, go meet your deaths, huh? After establishing their defenses, the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples sneered at the heaven-female alliance that had yet to even gather. In their opinion, even if they did create defenses, they wouldn't be as secure as their sides. Even if they managed to endure the wave, at least half of them would die. The heaven-female alliance's disciples had killed so many of them. Now they finally had a chance to strike back. The spirit of water dragon overflows the heavens. Just as the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples were sneering at them, Zhao Ziyan rapidly formed hand seals, and a rune lit up on her forehead. Life energy blossomed out of her, and the water suddenly rose. A huge water dragon formed. It was so huge that they couldn't even see its full body. It rapidly coiled around the heaven-female alliance's disciples, protecting them. Boom! The huge wave struck them. Both the water dragon and the 9 barriers were sent flying. When their vision cleared, the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples cheered loudly. They had survived safe and sound, and their barriers weren't the slightest bit damaged. Did those sluts die? Looking around, they saw that the water dragon was gone, and all the heaven-female alliance's disciples had also disappeared. They couldn't have all died, right? That's such a waste, sighed one of them. Wait, there's someone there. Suddenly, someone cried out. A figure had appeared in the air at some unknown point, coldly looking at them. Heaven and earth limitless flower arrow. Hua Xiu smiled coldly. Finishing her final hand seal, a huge arrow condensed before her. It was formed entirely of flower petals and shot forward. In front of the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples' shocked gazes, their barriers were broken through one by one. But regretfully, Hua Xiu's full-strength attack only broke through 8 of their barriers. In the end, it ran out of energy when striking the last barrier. Ah, brothers, capture her. She's the only one left, so make sure not to accidentally kill her, laughed one of the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples. Just at this moment, the surface of the sea exploded and a huge water dragon appeared. There was a completely undamaged flying boat resting above its head. The water dragon immediately opened its mouth and shot at them, causing the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples' expressions to completely change. Strengthen the barrier, roared a rank 6 celestial, and he pressed his staff against the final barrier. The other disciples also moved to support it. The water dragon spat out a huge water arrow at the barrier. It was like a bolt of lightning striking an apple. In one single boom, all the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples disappeared. As for the water arrow, it continued onward past the horizon. Wow, Sister Zhao Ziyan is so amazing. The Heaven-Female Alliance burst into cheers. All of them were shocked by Zhao Ziyan's terrifying trump card. Zhao Ziyan bitterly smiled. If I was this amazing, I'd have used this move a long time ago, and the battle would have been over. I only managed to do this by using the water dragon to absorb Long Chen and Han Zhenyu's power. But no matter what, you still managed to kill all our enemies. Now it's up to Long Chen. Hua Xiu and the others looked into the far distance where sea waves were still raging. Explosions were constantly ringing out there, and the waves only grew more and more intense. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen really is amazing. Not only is he handsome, but he's also so powerful and he cares about his people. If I could gain his favor, even death would be worth it. Quite a few maidens had their hearts sway as they looked at that practically apocalyptic scene in the distance. Hua Xiu and Zhao Ziyan looked at each other, both seeing the trace of helplessness and bitterness in the other's eyes. When they had first joined the Shintian Dao sect, they had felt Long Chen to just be a rookie. But as time passed, he soared like a shooting star. Now they could only look up to him. The charisma of an unrivaled hero was naturally unstoppable. Practically all of them hoped to stay with such a figure for their lives. Furthermore, Long Chen's charisma was not limited to just his unrivaled power. The most moving aspect was how he cared about others. If anyone touched his brothers or sisters, he would immediately become a devil god and fight with his life on the line. He was like an untamable devil god. It was a very dangerous feeling, yet it was also very stimulating, making them have an urge to subdue him or to be subdued by him. Boom. The huge sea waves forced the flying boat to retreat further and further away. At the core of the waves, Long Chen was still fighting the golden giant. Their disproportionate figures continuously clashed. Long Chen's 108,000 immortal platforms were pouring energy into him to the point that he felt like his meridians were starting to swell. That was a sign that they were about to reach their limit. So my physical body can only endure 80% of the power of the 108,000 immortal platforms. But that's enough. Long Chen smiled. He had finally finished testing his limit. The true battle started now. Blooddrinker's runes began to revolve, and a berserk aura erupted. Blooddrinker's runes activated, and it was like an ancient beast was awakening. A terrifying pressure descended. Han Zhenyu's golden giant was instantly blown back. How can you activate a king item's power? Han Zhenyu was completely shocked. King items were weapons only kings could use. To use them required the power of a jade core. When it came to true power, Han Zhenyu could easily fight across realms and defeat kings. But that was in theory. In reality, if he encountered a king, his power would only allow him to run. That was because kings could activate their king items. Their power could shake heaven and earth. As for Han Zhenyu, although he had a king item, he only had a portion of his king item's approval. He could use it, but he couldn't truly use its power. A king item that couldn't unleash its power had two uses. One was that because its material was hard enough, you didn't need to worry about it being damaged. The second reason was to be a poser. Geniuses who could subdue a king item in the foundation forging realm were extremely rare. So using a king item to show off was very effective. But Long Chen's Blooddrinker was different. It wasn't used to show off. It was his companion that fought alongside him, and they had cultivated a sincere connection. Blooddrinker was willing to lend its power to Long Chen. On the other hand, Long Chen wouldn't be able to use any other king items. Other king items were like stingy wives. Their money was their money, and others shouldn't even think about touching it. This comparison was a bit vulgar, but it really was like this. Han Zhenyu's king item had acknowledged Han Zhenyu, but he was still him, while it was still it. That was why Han Zhenyu was shocked and envious that Long Chen could activate a king item's power. He was exceptionally furious because the reason Blooddrinker had advanced was because of him. Thinking of this made him want to cough up blood. Last time, his core had been gravely injured, and it had taken many resources to fully heal. That had all been caused by Blooddrinker absorbing his energy. Now his eyes were red. "You're not my son, so why should I tell you? Or do you want to say some final words before your death?" sneered Long Chen. In truth, Blooddrinker had only recently advanced, and its core runes hadn't fully formed yet. The amount of power it could unleash was limited. But this was still enough to delight Long Chen. With Blooddrinker's assistance, Long Chen's attacks were even sharper, and his combat power multiplied. Boom! Suddenly, Long Chen sent Han Zhenyu flying with the third form of Split the Heavens. Now, Long Chen and Blooddrinker were completely suppressing him. Han Zhenyu's golden giant became covered with cracks. As he retreated, an azure light shot down from the sky and smashed into its waist. With an explosive sound, the cracked golden giant was pierced through by Cloud's attack. "Bastard, even a feathered brute dares to attack me?" Han Zhenyu furiously sent a ray of sword chi at Cloud. But this sword chi was shattered midway by Long Chen's saber. Cloud might be powerful, but it still hadn't fully matured. It couldn't endure being struck by such a powerful attack. "Cloud, don't mess around. Just go play at the side," shouted Long Chen. Cloud flew away, while Long Chen once more attacked Han Zhenyu. With yet another slash of his saber, Han Zhenyu's golden giant completely shattered. It was a pure exchange of power with no flashiness at all. "Bastard, I'm unable to display the superiority of my earth energy above the sea. Just wait, I'll come find you later. Other than that, I'll help put away your Dragonblood Legion's corpses," roared Han Zhenyu. After saying that, he took out 2 talismans and pasted them on his fist. He then raised his heels and ran away. He crossed 100 miles in a single step, instantly disappearing from Long Chen's sight. ground contraction talismans? Long Chen's expression changed slightly. This was a kind of ancient talisman that had the effect of contracting the ground between steps. It raised a person's speed by 100 times. Cloud let out a bird cry and flew over to Long Chen. It was ready to chase. Chasing prey was the cloud chasing heaven-swallowing sparrow's instincts. The faster the prey, the more Cloud wanted to chase. It was like it was a provocation to it. Long Chen was prepared to chase when the jade tablet on his waist lit up again, letting out an alarm. As expected, they were luring the tiger off the mountain. But the Dragonblood Legion doesn't have just one tiger. Long Chen smiled coldly. He jumped onto Cloud, and after giving Hua Xiu some instructions, he shot off. Han Zhenyu's courage was already broken, and that golden giant had exhausted plenty of his core energy. His current combat power was down to 20% of his peak, and Long Chen didn't believe he would dare to come back. Furthermore, even if he did return to attack Hua Xiu and the others, he might never be able to leave again. Long Chen wasn't worried. Due to the Martial Heaven Alliance's rules, kings would not appear here except in special circumstances. No one would dare to send a king here. Then they would become the Martial Heaven Alliance's enemy. If the only attackers were Foundation-forging disciples, Long Chen wasn't worried. But he couldn't figure out why the heaven-suppressing magic sect would suddenly sneak attack the Xiantian Dao sect. Was it really purely for revenge? Although the Xian master had said that the cultivation world was filled with idiots and they didn't have too much skill with what they did, that kind of reason was truly idiotic. Is it to weaken the Dao sect so that they can't defend this zone and have their rights revoked? However, how could they know where everyone had been? First, they had attacked Wang Zhen to draw him over, and then they had attacked Hua Xiu. If Long Chen hadn't had Cloud, then with only his own speed, Long Chen would have arrived just in time to see the 10,000 insect guild be completely annihilated. All he would have seen was a mountain of corpses. And just as his fury soared, Hua Xiu would be attacked, and by the time he arrived there, he would once more be too late. If this plan had succeeded, then he would go crazy with rage. Was this plan all to target him? As he flew forward, he heard explosions coming from ahead. Wild, Meng Qi, Tang Wana, and Yu Zifeng were crazily fighting a man with a horn on his head. That man was an ancient race expert, and the 7 stars reflect on the runic sea manifestation was behind him. He also held a staff that unleashed all kinds of magical arts, which allowed him to fight equally against the 4 of them. He was extremely terrifying. He had reached the 9th heaven stage of foundation forging, and his magical arts transformed extremely quickly, overwhelming others. Long spears, large halberds, flying swords, ancient bells, and all other kinds of magical arts came out of him. Each attack contained immense power. His power was even greater than Han Zhenyu's. Wild had summoned the barbarian blood bronze body and was crazily smashing his club at him. Regardless of the magical art he tried, he was unable to beat back Wild. Each magical art was shattered by a single swing of his club. Meng Qi continuously formed hand seals. Golden runes revolved in the air, forming flying blades that slashed at him. They were extremely powerful spiritual attacks, but the man's horn lit up with countless runes that formed a barrier around him. Her spiritual attacks were easily rebounded. Now Meng Qi was competing with him in terms of spiritual strength. She needed to exhaust his spiritual strength as quickly as possible, but he wasn't afraid of this at all. His spiritual strength was extremely powerful. Meanwhile, Tang Wana was surrounded by a sea of wind blades. She went all out attacking, and at the same time, she kept a large mass of wind blades to protect Yu Zifeng. Amongst the 4 of them, Yu Zifeng posed the greatest threat to this opponent. His sword chi could break through any defenses that his opponent summoned. Due to his previous carelessness, Yu Zifeng's sword had broken his defenses and landed on his back. If it hadn't been for his clothes having powerful defenses of their own to protect him, he would have been killed. After that, he had focused on killing Yu Zifeng as his #1 priority. Because Yu Zifeng was not a celestial, he couldn't heal, and his defensive strength was low. But Wild was also incredibly powerful, and he had Meng Qi and Tang Wana restricting him as well. He was unable to find an opportunity to kill Yu Zifeng. Instead, he had to constantly be on guard against his attacks. The 5 of them were fighting far away in the air. Down below, the Dragon Blood Legion's warriors were fighting over 30,000 heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples under Gu Yang's lead. Suddenly, a huge figure appeared in the sky, and an azure light shot through a rank 6 celestial's body, instantly killing him. "Boss is back." The Dragon Blood Legion cheered. They had only just started fighting, but Long Chen had already returned. Double Dragon Destruction. Long Chen jumped off Cloud's back, instantly summoning Hua Long and Lei Long. "Watch out!" roared the person fighting Wild and the others. He tried to charge over to help, but the 4 of them held him back. Yu Zifeng even used a suicidal move to force him to hastily switch to defense. Wild, Meng Qi and Tang Wan'er also went all out, forcing him to retreat. He could only watch as the 2 dragons smashed their way through the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples. Defend! The heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples all had their hair stand on end upon sensing the pressure from the 2 dragons. They hastily took out shields. Boom! The huge dragons mercilessly tore through the ranks of the 30,000 disciples, leaving a bloody path in their wake. Whether or not the disciples summoned defenses, whether they were rank 5 celestials or even rank 6 celestials, anyone in the path of the double dragon attack was killed. Both Lei Long and Hua Long had grown to a terrifying level now. When they combined their power, their attack power was practically limitless. The formation the 30,000 heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples had formed was cut in 2, and a third of their numbers were killed. Slaughter them! Although there's more of them, I'm sure the men of steel from my Dragon Blood Legion can make sure that not one of them leaves," shouted Long Chen. Kill them all." Before Long Chen arrived, they had been unable to break through their defenses. But they were shattered by one attack from Long Chen, and 10,000 disciples were killed. If they didn't show some of their own ability, they wouldn't have the face to keep calling themselves members of the Dragon Blood Legion. The strongest point of the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples was their combination magical arts. Now the strongest point had been broken by Long Chen, and the Dragon Blood Legion's warriors immediately turned red-eyed. Back then, these people hadn't held back on angering them. At that time, they hadn't had a chance to attack. Although Long Chen had defeated Han Zhenyu and slapped Ma Xingkong in the face, it still wasn't as satisfying as doing it themselves. Now that the people who had been looking down on them so arrogantly appeared before them again, the Dragon Blood Legion's warriors almost went crazy. "Fuck, just keep being a poser." Killing one of the panicking heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples, one of the Dragon Blood warriors shouted with delight. After the competition, Long Chen had told them that when fighting the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples, they had to do their best to close the distance between them. Close-range combat was their fatal weakness. As long as you didn't give them time to unleash magical arts, they could be cut down easily. Spirit of Dash, one of the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples chanted, waving his staff. "Spirit my ass. Let's see how you spirit anything now." One of the Dragon Mark warriors cut off his head and pointed at his corpse. "He's already dead, so what are you quibbling against him for? Hurry up and move on." Another Dragon Mark warrior pulled him off. The Dragon Blood Legion's warriors were like tigers and wolves, charging through the midst of the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples. They were in a complete state of panic. The ones who were further away wanted to use magical arts to attack back, but there were still their fellow disciples between them. If they attacked, they would also be attacking their fellow disciples. That moment of indecision was all that the Dragon Blood Legion needed to close the distance. Die! One of the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples waved his staff, unleashing a runic arrow that struck a Dragon Mark warrior in the back. A muffled bang rang out, and his clothes were torn apart. But the Dragon Mark warrior was fine. The hole in his clothes revealed golden armor. "You can die instead." A maiden smashed her wooden staff on the attacker's head. The heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciple's eyes rolled into the back of his head, and he fainted just like this. He fell to the sea, revealing a woman behind him. This maiden was actually one of the healing disciples. She was in charge of healing people with long-range healing arts. But taking advantage of an extremely rare case, she smacked a rank 5 celestial in the head, knocking him out. The Dragon Mark warrior hastily switched out his robes. The scale armor he was wearing was their secret weapon. The reason Long Chen dared to let them attack was because they were all wearing the armor Guoran had forged. Speaking of this armor, it had to be said that Guoran was truly a skilled and meticulous craftsman. For others, scaled armor had to be worn on the outside like plate armor. But Guoran's scale armor had tiny springs between scales, allowing it to contract and be worn as a second skin. Wearing it on the body didn't affect their agility or movements at all. So looking on the outside, others weren't even able to tell they were wearing armor. Guoran had long since run some training sessions so people could get used to it. Now that they were fighting for real, they found it to be very natural. As long as they protected their heads, they wouldn't have to worry about being attacked in other places. The material that had gone into this armor was at the king item level. Although the armor wasn't a true king item, its hardness was essentially on the same level. Furthermore, Guoran had inscribed special runes on the armor to reduce the impact of blows. Even if they were struck by a heavy weapon, the armor would block a portion of the attack's power, so they wouldn't be killed in one blow. The Dragonblood Legion's warriors were like tigers with wings now, completely slaughtering the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples who were now fleeing miserably. The ones that directly turned and fled without a care of their fellow disciples were killed by Cloud. Boom. Suddenly, the Horned Man's 7 stars reflect on the runic sea disappeared. It was absorbed back into his body, and his blood chi erupted. His horn began to glow, and a ray of light shot out at Wild's club. Wild's hand instantly cracked and began to bleed. He was sent flying, wildly vomiting blood. Meng Qi and the others were shocked. Despite Wild's power, he was still injured. Just at this moment, the Horned Man's staff disappeared, replaced with a trident. He swung it out behind him. Boom. He just managed to block Yu Zifeng's silent sword. Yu Zifeng's arms broke, and his sword left his hand as he flew back. Time for you to die. The Horned Man sneered and swung his trident at Meng Qi and Tanghua. Suddenly, a blood-colored saber fell from the sky. The saber hadn't even arrived, but the pressure it exuded caused the Horned Man's heart to shake. He immediately gave up on attacking the two of them and swung it at Long Chen's saber. Sparks flew. The Horned Man was startled to find that Long Chen's seemingly brute-strength attack had actually been able to force his trident to the side. With the trident to the side, the Horned Man's head was open. A large foot ruthlessly kicked his face. The Horned Man was sent flying across the sea, bouncing off the surface several times as he shot into the distance. Wang Zhen and Hua Xiyu have arrived. Go get them and kill everyone here. Don't let a single one escape. I'll handle that one. Long Chen shot away immediately after giving Meng Qi and Tang Wan'er some orders. They saw that a flying boat was rushing over from one direction, while Wang Zhen was flying with a group of people from another direction. Wang Zhen's flying boat had been crippled, so despite leaving first, he ended up arriving at the same time as Hua Xiyu. The Heaven Female Alliance and 10,000 Insect Guild immediately formed an encirclement when they reached the battlefield, completely trapping the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples. Wild jumped onto a flying boat and took out a jade bowl. He began to crazily eat. That fierce fight had exhausted a great deal of his energy. After all, he was the one who had received the majority of the Horned Man's attacks. One of Yu Zifeng's arms was completely gone, and there were 2 healing disciples helping him recover. Because he was not a celestial, their healing was even more effective on him. A new arm quickly grew out, but the meridians inside would need some time to expand. Seeing that the 2 of them were fine, Meng Qi and Tang Wan'er also joined the battlefield. Meng Qi jumped onto Cloud's back to overlook the entire battlefield. Now that Long Chen had arrived, the conclusion was set. The only thing to do was to reduce any casualties. The Dragonblood Legion had their armor to protect themselves, and there were no casualties amongst them. The main thing was to support the Heaven Female Alliance and the 10,000 Insect Guild. Long Chen summoned his Green Dragon battle armor. He had 108,000 scales, the same as his 108,000 immortal platforms. The dragon blood energy strengthened his body to a new level, allowing him to use all the power of his 108,000 immortal platforms without worrying about his body not being able to handle it. He quickly caught up to the horned man. Resting Blood Drinker on his shoulder, he icily asked, "Does the heaven-suppressing magic sect only have this little ability? Even a rank 7 celestial would sink so low?" "Fuck off." The horned man's expression sank, but he didn't argue. His trident's runes lit up and he smashed it at Long Chen. Long Chen snorted and randomly swung Blood Drinker. The horned man coughed up blood and once more flew back. "A rank 7 celestial is no longer a match for me." Sensing his condition in the green dragon battle armor state, he was filled with confidence. He once more arrived in front of the horned man and swung his saber. He used neither technique nor ability. It was just an ordinary swing. And yet, the horned man's arm completely deformed and he smashed into the sea like a shooting star. Ancestral blood ignition, ancestral spirit appear. The horned man suddenly roared, and a huge figure appeared behind him. Because it was so huge, it wasn't possible to see it clearly. It simply looked like an ape with a horn on its head. "I'll kill you right now with my strongest move." The horned man coldly glared at Long Chen. Even his voice was becoming dark and sinister. "I'm looking forward to it." Long Chen rested Blood Drinker on his shoulder. His hair constantly billowed as he sensed energy surging out of him. He didn't know if the 9-star Hegemon body art was connected to the Green Dragon battle armor, but up until now, he found that using the Green Dragon battle armor was able to unleash the full power of the 9-star Hegemon body art. It was only with the support of the Green Dragon battle armor that he was able to bear using 100% of his 108,000 immortal platforms power. Tightly holding Blood Drinker, he felt like his body was about to burst with energy. As for the horned man, he raised his trident. The illusory figure behind him transformed into a rune that merged with his trident. "Fool, now you should realize that you're definitely going to die today." The horned man glared at Long Chen. Long Chen narrowed his eyes. He icily said, "Using the power of your ancestral blood and the essence of your ancestor's soul to activate a king item's power?" "Correct. Although it can't fully activate the king item, it's enough to kill you." The horn on his head began to shine with a dazzling light, and it gathered onto the trident. Heaven and earth rumbled as his trident rapidly grew. It pierced through the clouds, reaching a monstrous height that made others feel like ants, as if they might be annihilated at any time. But Long Chen just calmly stared without making any movements. Blood Drinker was beginning to shiver, like a lion whose territory was being intruded on. He pointed Blood Drinker to the sky, and a blood-red saber image soared into the sky. Cliff-breaking heaven-propping slash. The horned man's pupils shrank. He hadn't thought that Long Chen would also be able to activate his king item. He hastily attacked, not giving Long Chen any time to store up energy. Split the heavens. 3. Just as Long Chen was preparing to use the 4th form of Split the Heavens, a bad feeling rose in his heart, and he forcibly switched to the 3rd form. The huge saber image crashed against the trident. The world suddenly descended into endless darkness. That was a result of mass spatial twisting, and when everyone's vision recovered, they saw that the sea had been cut apart. They thought they even saw the ocean floor, which was also cracked. Both Long Chen and the horned man flew back. Long Chen vomited a mouthful of blood, his meridians shaking. In that critical moment, he had switched from the 4th form to the 3rd form of Split the Heavens. He had forcibly gone from connecting 36 acupuncture points to 27. But because the 36 acupuncture points had been connected, he could see that just trying to use the 4th form had caused his acupuncture points to be covered in cracks. Fortunately, I switched in time, or my meridians would have been completely destroyed. How is the 4th form of Split the Heavens so monstrous? Long Chen felt a wave of fear. He had already nourished the runes for the 4th form of Split the Heavens. Since he could instantly unleash the 3rd form, he should have been able to use the 4th form. But when he tried, a sensation of crisis had filled his heart and he had changed to the 3rd form. And yet he still received a heavy backlash. He had never tried activating the fourth form. He had been wanting to test it out, but that almost caused a disaster. When Long Chen flew back, he wasn't able to find any sign of the horned man. He had fled somehow. Seeing his enemy had fled, he relaxed slightly. As a result, he coughed up another mouthful of blood. He hastily circulated the primal chaos bead to heal. But Long Chen was shocked to find that the meridians he had cracked from attempting to use the fourth form were recovering very slowly. Is there some kind of secret with the fourth form of Split the Heavens? Wondered Long Chen. What is it, Long Chen? Meng Qi and Tang Wan'er came over. They both saw that his expression was a bit ugly. I'm fine. I'm just irritated that he got away. Long Chen shook his head. Previously, he had been so confident. He had been sure he would be able to fight to the death against that horned man. But he had still escaped. But even if he hadn't run, Long Chen no longer had any assurance of killing him. His damaged meridians made it so he couldn't use his full power. Instead of defeating his enemy, his own energy had injured himself. Long Chen was extremely irritated. Such a stupid thing had actually happened to him. What the hell happened? Just at this time, Su Mo and Mu Qingxuan's group arrived. They had been attracted by the huge disturbance. Seeing countless corpses and everyone covered in blood, cleaning up a battlefield, they jumped in shock. You weren't attacked? Asked Meng Qi with surprise. No? Everything was normal. What happened here? Cried Mu Qingxian. Now's not the time to talk about it. Gather all the disciples. We're going back to Xiantian City, said Long Chen. On the way, they explained what had happened. Mu Qingxian and Su Mo were shocked. They hadn't expected the heaven-suppressing magic sect to be so crazy as to attack the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples. But why didn't they attack us? Asked Mu Qingxian. Perhaps it's to prevent the Xiantian Dao sect from going crazy. If all the new disciples are killed, at least they'll have the old disciples to continue their inheritance. But if the old and new disciples are killed, that would leave them with no options. Then the Xiantian Dao sect would have a true fight to the death with them. Long Chen could only come up with such a guess. However, while this was the most logical guess he could come up with, he knew the heaven-suppressing magic sect's idiots didn't know what logic was. Despite thinking about it from 100 different angles, he couldn't figure out just what they were planning. Is there still no news from Gao Xianyang? Asked Long Chen. No. It seems they've turned off their communication runes. We can't even find them. Su Mo, Wang Zhen, and the others shook their heads. Boss, you don't think that? Asked Gu Yang. There's no proof, so it's meaningless to guess. Furthermore, that seems unlikely. Gao Xianyang isn't an idiot, and he knows doing such a thing has no benefit to him. Starting today, we're staying within Xiantian City until the beast tide, said Long Chen. But then when the beast tide occurs, the number of sea demons will reach a terrifying level, said Su Mo. All of them had now realized that the beast tide this time was going to be extremely terrifying. When they went out hunting, cleaning out the 9th rank sea demons in one area took them a long time. If they didn't take advantage of this time to kill some more, then when the beast tide occurred, their numbers would be inestimable. It's fine. I have a plan for that. As for the heaven-suppressing magic sect, they lost so much this time. Tens of thousands of their disciples were killed, and only 2 escaped. With their idiotic character, it's very likely that they'll return to get revenge. They have more disciples than us, and it's too easy for them to ambush us on the sea. But as long as we hold back our troops, they won't dare to attack Xiantian City. Then that would no longer be as simple as conflicting views between 2 sections. They don't dare, said Long Chen. Why don't we report this to the sect? Probed Mu Qingxian. There's no need. The Shen master already told me that anything can happen here, and that we needed to resolve whatever happens ourselves. Furthermore, what do you think they'd do if we reported it? The elders can't enter this region. Do you want the sect to send outer sect disciples? Isn't that just suicide for them? Long Chen shook his head. But started Mu Qingxian. Qingxian, Long Chen is the commander. He has his own plans, so don't keep asking. Don't you feel like you're being a worrywart? Said Su Mo. You're saying such a thing to me? Tonight, don't come to my room. declared Mu Qingxian. But she quickly realized she had misspoken. She turned red and fled. Everyone else looked oddly at Su Mo. Long Chen clapped. Who would have thought that senior apprentice brother Su Mo would be this efficient? Congratulations, congratulations. Senior apprentice brother Su Mo is mighty. Senior apprentice brother Su Mo is domineering. Senior apprentice brother Su Mo is mighty and domineering. Gu Yang and the others seemed to wish the whole world would be in chaos, and they cheered along. Su Mo looked like he wanted to cry. He had just wanted to give some advice and hadn't expected to fall into such a situation. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have even opened his mouth. Under everyone's sight, he could only force a smile and leave. But everyone was well aware Su Mo was about to have a rough couple of days. After this, they did a check of their losses. The 10,000 Insect Guild had suffered the most, while the Heaven Female Alliance had lost a few hundred people. The Dragon Blood Legion had a couple of dozen people injured, but no one had died. That was the result of Guoran's armor. Long Chen had Wang Jun bring in a few people from Su Mo's group. Su Mo's group contained the disciples who had come from the Divine Beast Mansion, Hegemon Hall, and Flame Gate. Su Mo had a few of his experts lead them, but it was difficult. As for the Heaven Female Alliance, they only accepted women, so only Wang Zhen could lead them. Long Chen had Wang Zhen take in 10,000 new disciples, causing him to jump. He didn't dare to lead that many people, because the battle had caused his side's power to drop. He felt he was unable to convince so many people to follow him. Whether or not you can lead your people isn't dependent on how strong you are, but whether or not you can treat each of your subordinates as a brother. As for the strength aspect, leave that to me. I will allow your power to grow explosively in a short amount of time. Long Chen patted Wang Zhen on the shoulder. Once they were back in Xiantian City, Long Chen found that it was as he had expected. The disciples left behind in Xiantian City hadn't been attacked, and everything was normal. Guoran was busy forging in seclusion. Seeing Long Chen and the others return covered in blood, and seeing that many people hadn't returned, they couldn't help being shocked. Long Chen had no intention of hiding this news. When everyone learned that it was done by the heaven-suppressing magic sect, they were all outraged. They wished to immediately go duke it out with them. Last time, the heaven-suppressing magic sect had come to provoke the Xiantian Dao sect, which had already infuriated them. Now they viewed them as life-and-death enemies. When they heard that only 2 of them managed to escape and the rest had been killed, they all felt delighted. Long Chen ordered them not to go out of the city during this time. If they wanted to go hunting, they could only go hunt by the shore. Hunting and patrolling by the shore was a must because they had to keep watch over the sea demons' movements. This was the time when the beast tide would occur. A huge number of sea demons would start gathering right before the beast tide. Long Chen began talking with Wang Zhen. He asked to know a bit more about his situation. Wang Zhen's losses were extremely severe. On the sea, he had used many of his insects that didn't even know how to fly as cannon fodder. As for the insects that could fly, less than 100th had survived. But there was one amazing aspect of insect cultivators. As long as they had enough resources, they could constantly breed more insects. These insects could breed very quickly as long as they had enough food. His insect army could be quickly restored. All the disciples had dozens of 9th-rank sea demon corpses in their spatial rings. Those were the best kind of resources for Wang Zhen. "Show me each kind of insect you have and give me an introduction," said Long Chen. Wang Zhen summoned hundreds of different insects. There were all kinds. Some were used for defense, some were used for offense, some were used for cleaning up corpses, and some were simply used as feed. Wang Zhen's fighting insects would need to consume a few feed insects every day to grow. As for the feed insects, they needed blood and flesh. The energy within the flesh could be transformed by his feed insects and provided to his other insects. It was similar to raising pigs. Wang Zhen also had a powerful mother insect. According to him, this mother insect was connected to his mind and soul. It was what allowed him to control his insect army. However, the mother insect was only at the early 9th rank. In order to make sure the other insects could be controlled, their power definitely could not surpass the mother insects. That was why Wang Zhen's other insects were at most at the peak of the 8th rank. If they were any stronger, the mother insect wouldn't be able to suppress them, and then they would rebel. Long Chen looked at the huge golden mother insect. It was like a 7-spotted ladybug, but its shell released a metallic luster. Its defensive power was shocking. It was no wonder he had been able to block the magical arts of rank 6 celestials. But it was clear this mother insect only specialized in defense and didn't have powerful attacks. Long Chen extracted a drop of its essence blood. It was golden and very bright. "How strong can your mother insect grow to?" asked Long Chen. "The 10th rank. That's strong." Long Chen was surprised. "Brother Long, although it can grow to the 10th rank, those that actually do are extremely rare. It is very difficult to grow, and it is very slow. Furthermore, a few years ago, I was in a life-and-death battle and my mother insect was heavily injured. It's been recovering these past few years. But my resources are limited, and I can't help it too much. So the mother insect's growth is very slow," said Wang Zhen. It seemed insect cultivators were also a money-burning profession. Poor people couldn't even try it. Long Chen said, "I have a general understanding of your mother insect. Since its limit is the 10th rank, I'm not worried at all." "Worried about what?" "I will use medicinal pills to allow your mother insect to advance within a few days. I'm thinking of raising it to the late 9th rank, said Long Chen after a moment's thought. "But that's impossible." Wang Zhen couldn't believe his ears. His mother insect had spent 3 years at the peak of the 8th rank before advancing to the early 9th rank. But Long Chen wanted to raise it to the late 9th rank in just a few days? If anyone else said that, he would think it was just a joke. But coming from Long Chen, he was delighted. "Don't get too happy. Raising it to the late 9th rank is no problem, but it's just an empty cultivation base. It will have the pressure but not the true power. My medicinal pills will raise its cultivation base, but its actual power will have to slowly grow and catch up. But just raising its cultivation base is enough to benefit you immensely. You understand?" Long Chen smiled. I understand. As long as my mother insect reaches the late 9th rank, I'll be able to control mid-9th rank insects as generals in my insect army." Heavens, I almost can't believe it. Wang Zhen lost all semblance of calm as he was filled with excitement. Was he joking? An army of thousands of 9th rank insects? Wouldn't he be completely unrivaled? "I'm not done. I'll also refine a kind of medicinal elixir for your feed insects. It will allow them to grow faster, and after they absorb the energy of flesh and blood, they will undergo a kind of explosive growth. It's not very good for your feed insects, but your fighting insects can simply devour them and it'll be no problem. They'll all grow faster. I'll refine some for you now, and later I'll give you the formula. Even when I'm not present, you'll be able to make it yourself." "Hey, what are you doing?" As Long Chen spoke, Wang Zhen suddenly knelt on the ground. Long Chen jumped and hastily pulled him up. "I will forever remember Brother Long's kindness," swore Wang Zhen. Long Chen wasn't just giving him medicinal elixir, he was giving him the formula as well. It had to be known that such secret formulas were extremely precious. There had been many cases of fathers and sons turning hostile, or brothers turning against each other just for a precious formula. As for this kind of formula, it was as precious as his life to Wang Zhen. "Don't be so serious." Long Chen was speechless. Wang Zhen shook his head. "This isn't just for me, but also for my brothers. Once I'm stronger, I won't have to just watch as they die in front of me. That feeling really is painful. I don't want to feel it a second time." "Good, that's what a man should be like. Now that you understand how brothers will sacrifice everything for each other, anyone who joins you will definitely not suffer." Long Chen patted him on the shoulder. Wang Zhen was extremely moved. Receiving Long Chen's approval felt like a lifetime's worth of glory now. After parting with Wang Zhen, he took a look over all of Xiantian City. To keep things safe, Meng Qi had completely covered Xiantian City in her spiritual domain. This spiritual domain was based on 4 golden little bells that were spread throughout the city. They were a special kind of soul item that allowed her to keep watch over all of Xiantian City. The sneak attack this time had given all of them a sense of danger. They were no longer within the Xiantian Dao sect, and there were no rules to protect them. They would have to rely on themselves. Long Chen returned to the city lord mansion. Calling over Gu Yang, he took out 86 rank 6 heavenly Dao fruits and 1,500 rank 5 heavenly Dao fruits. Those were his greatest spoils of battle this time. It went without saying that the heaven-suppressing magic sect was truly more powerful than the Xiantian Dao sect. Amongst their new disciples, many of them had been raised to the 5th rank. That had to have cost countless resources. Amongst their senior disciples, around a 10th of them were rank 6 celestials. As for the Xiantian Dao sect's senior disciples, only 1 in 1,000 were rank 6 celestials. This proportion revealed the difference in financial strength between the two sections. However, this power difference had ended up benefiting Long Chen. Whether the dead celestial was an innate or acquired celestial, once their heavenly Dao runes were absorbed by the primal chaos bead and condensed into heavenly Dao fruits, the people who consumed them would be an innate celestial. Most monstrous of all, if those fallen disciples had reached the realm of merging with heaven and earth, the heavenly Dao fruit would bestow that ability to whoever consumed it as well. Give 50 of the rank 6 heavenly Dao fruits to the healing disciples. Split the rest amongst the warriors with the greatest potential. As for the rank 5 heavenly Dao fruits, first give them to the dragon blood warriors, and then select the strongest dragon mark warriors, said Long Chen. Right now, the Dragon Blood Legion had over 13,000 members. There were still just 4 captains, but now there were 360 squad leaders. In other words, each Dragon Blood warrior was a squad leader. In this way, each squad was composed of over 30 people, and it was easier to control things during battle. Squad leaders naturally had to be strong, so the rank 5 heavenly Dao fruits would be first given to them. As for the rank 6 heavenly Dao fruits going to the healing disciples, Gu Yang had hesitated a bit, but then thinking about it, the healing disciples were what protected the lives of the Dragon Blood Legion. They had to be powerful. During the battle in the Infernal Devil Abyss, they had experienced just how important the healing disciples were. Otherwise, there would have been quite a few casualties in that battle. Once Gu Yang left, Long Chen looked at the remaining rank 4 and below heavenly Dao fruits he had. I wonder whether Zheng Wenlong managed to send those heavenly Dao fruits over. Long Chen thought of Yu Shaoqian. He had sent a large number of heavenly Dao fruits so that the original devil race could walk openly on the martial heaven continent to gather resources. Now, he had another mass of heavenly Dao fruits. But he didn't dare to randomly send them with just anyone. If this secret was exposed, he would be dead. The only people who truly knew this secret were Tang Wana, Meng Qi, Gu Yang, Guoran, and a few others. The Dragon Blood and Dragon Mark warriors only knew that they were fruits. They didn't know the true story. Long Chen didn't want them to know. It wasn't that he didn't trust them, but that the more people who knew, the more dangerous it would be. Then their enemies would set their sights on him, and it might cause him to lose his life. After arranging everything, Long Chen went into seclusion to refine pills. Some were for Wang Zhen, and some were for Hua Shiyu. He needed to take advantage of this time to help Hua Shiyu eliminate that thing. Long Chen spent a whole day refining pills for Wang Zhen. The mother insect was very large, and it needed top-grade pills. Moreover, it needed hundreds of them in order to be effective. As for medicinal elixir, it needed even more of that. Fortunately, he had Hua Long to help him refine it, and it all went very smoothly. Otherwise, refining that much would exhaust him to death. When Wang Zhen received the medicinal pills, he directly gave them to his mother insect. He also started using the elixir to raise his feed insects. Long Chen had all disciples prioritize giving their 9th rank sea demons' corpses to Wang Zhen. Everyone was in support of this. Having sacrificed so many insects to protect his subordinates, he had won their respect. Furthermore, the most precious aspect of 9th rank sea demons was their core. Their corpses were only worth a tenth, so people didn't care that much. They directly gave the corpses to Wang Zhen for free. Originally, Wang Zhen had been planning on using his cores to exchange with the corpses. But he was refused by all the disciples. Some of them even said Wang Zhen was being unreasonable. Wang Zhen was extremely moved. He took their sea demons' corpses. With them, he would be able to raise his insects as fast as possible. Wang Zhen was shocked to find that his feed insects were growing even faster than he had expected. Originally, his feed insects would take 5 days to mature. But now, they matured in just a few hours. Furthermore, with the effect of the medicinal elixir, the amount of energy they contained was 10 times greater. It was even greater than what Long Chen had predicted. Now that he had enough flesh, Wang Zhen was crazily breeding his insect army. His mother insect had smoothly reached the mid-9th rank after consuming the first batch of medicinal pills. Furthermore, it was on track to reach the late 9th rank soon. Now Wang Zhen was completely convinced by Long Chen's abilities. Just as Wang Zhen was crazily breeding various insects, Long Chen was still healing his injuries. The backlash of attempting to use the 4th form of Split the Heavens was still causing him problems. He still didn't know what it was. But it was only after using the Primal Chaos Bead to its full powers for 2 days that his meridians slowly healed. That shocked Long Chen. The Primal Chaos space was flourishing with life. Bones and limbs could be regrown in a few breaths, and yet repairing a few meridians had taken 2 days. Long Chen carefully tested the 1st form of Split the Heavens. There was no problem at all. His 9 acupuncture points were connected smoothly. The 2nd form was also no problem. The 3rd form was no problem. He slowly attempted the 4th form. His spiritual yuan poured through 28 acupuncture points, 29, 35. He thought about testing the power of it, but when he considered how he would have to exhaust a quarter of his energy, he decided not to. In any case, there would come an opportunity sooner or later, and he wasn't in a rush. He had already figured out how to use it. For the rest of the day, he continued refining pills. The next morning, he went to find Hua Shiyu. In a private room containing just the 2 of them, the atmosphere was a bit awkward. "I've refined a few special pills for you, and they will protect your soul. But you should be prepared. That thing has been in your body for too long, and extracting it will be very painful," warned Long Chen gravely. Hua Shiyu was a bit nervous. She nodded as she still remembered the pain from last time. That feeling of having one's soul torn apart was the most painful experience she had ever had. Hua Shiyu consumed the top-grade medicinal pills Long Chen had refined for her. The medicinal energy quickly spread, causing Hua Shiyu to glow with a sacred light. That light made her clothes almost see-through, revealing all her crucial parts. Hua Shiyu turned completely red and looked away, incapable of facing Long Chen. Long Chen gulped. Looking at a peerless beauty who seemed to not be wearing any clothes, he found his mouth dry. Taking a deep breath, he expelled all his beautiful thoughts and warned himself that he had proper things to attend to. Circulating the 9-star Hegemon body art, a faint light came from his palm as he reached for Hua Shiyu's chest. The black chi was located right below her solar plexus. That was a very awkward spot. Long Chen's hand stopped for a long time in front of her chest as he didn't dare to press down. Although Hua Shiyu had her eyes closed, her breathing was clearly quickening and her face was completely red. It was an unreplicable beauty. "Damn it, Long Chen, you're a doctor now, Dr. Long Chen. The more you hesitate, the more it seems you're feeling guilty." Long Chen clenched his teeth and pressed. That soft feeling made his heart waver. "Ah," Hua Shiyu shook. A soft cry came out from her covered mouth, and it made Long Chen's blood immediately surge. Unable to focus, the circulation of the 9-star Hegemon body art came to a halt, and the light on his palm also faded. Hua Shiyu opened her eyes, her face even redder than before. "Sorry, I shouldn't have made such a noise." That cry had been involuntary, but she still felt extremely embarrassed. Long Chen also couldn't help being embarrassed. How was he supposed to endure such a sound of rapture? "Are you nervous, Long Chen? You're sweating." Hua Shiyu tried to alleviate the awkward atmosphere. Right now, Long Chen was covered in sweat, while normally he was unafraid of anything. He even dared to slap the heaven-suppressing magic sect's vice sect master, but he was still so tense now. But I just don't have experience. Long Chen bitterly smiled. But after saying that, he regretted it. What about last times? Teased Hua Xiu. Last time was too fast and it ended before it started. Long Chen relaxed a bit upon seeing that Hua Xiu dared to tease him. He had to treat this as just a small matter. Aren't you afraid of Tang Wan of beating you if you put it like this? Laughed Hua Xiu. Do you think I'm afraid of her? Long Chen sniffed. Just ask her, when does she ever not beat me? The awkward atmosphere slowly lessened. The two of them were no longer so nervous. If you're nervous, just until you're not nervous, before helping me, Hua Xiu once more turned red. Heavens, there was such a good thing? But how could he be so shameless as to really do that? I want to, but if Wana learns of it, I might not live past 21, said Long Chen helplessly. I promise to keep it secret. Hua Xiu's voice was less than a whisper, yet it was solemn. She didn't realize Long Chen was just joking. Long Chen felt like continuing like this was just making their relationship more and more dubious. Taking a deep breath, he said, Xiu, we should hurry up a bit. Once the medicinal effect fades, we won't be able to expel it. Are you ready? Yes. Let's start. Hua Xiu closed her eyes and puffed out her chest slightly. Long Chen didn't dare to look at her. Closing his eyes and expelling all distracting thoughts, the light on his palm reappeared as he slowly pressed it against Hua Xiu's chest. But black qi once more began to stream out of her chest. It was like countless black centipedes wriggling around his palm. Hua Xiu's expression twisted slightly in pain, but with the effect of the medicinal elixir, it was much better than last time. She didn't make a sound. Endure it. I'm going to pull it out. Long Chen urged on the 9-star Hegemon body art, causing the light coming from his palm to grow stronger. More and more black qi appeared, and in the end, Long Chen pulled out a 3-meter black figure from her chest. Who dares to break my magic? Suddenly, an elderly face that was both cold and stern appeared within the black qi. Long Chen pulled back his hand, drawing out a black figure. That black figure was like an octopus, but with countless tentacles that were like sinister centipedes. Half of it had been pulled out by Long Chen, but now the black figure was struggling fiercely, refusing to be pulled out of Hua Xiu's body. At this moment, an elder appeared within the black qi, staring at Long Chen with triangular eyes. He's the one who came to my family. Hua Xiu immediately cried out upon seeing that figure, but she then coughed up a mouthful of blood. Brat, don't meddle in other people's affairs. Some people can't be provoked by you. If you're smart, you'll immediately stop, barked the elder. You know, I haven't read many books, and I'm not very smart. What are you saying exactly? Long Chen acted stupid, while he silently sent thunder force through the ground. Dumb brat, if you offend me, you, your family, and even your sect will be completely annihilated, roared the elder. Try to brag a bit more. Maybe something about destroying the stars and the very universe? I've heard such poser words many times. But if you brag a bit more, I might believe you, said Long Chen. You. Just at this moment, the rest of the black qi was fully extracted, and it was now powerless to resist. Bastard, just you wait. I'll find you. If you think you can save this girl, keep dreaming. The elder furiously formed a seal with one hand. A large hand suddenly shot out of the black qi at Hua Xiu's chest. Idiot. Long Chen sneered. A lighting dragon suddenly appeared in front of Hua Xiu's chest, devouring the black hand. The elder in the black qi coughed up 3 large mouthfuls of blood. Having that black hand devoured by Lei Long had clearly injured him. Oh my, you still get your period? And even at such an age and so much. Old man, your health's not bad. Praised Long Chen. Youpht. The elder once more coughed up a mouthful of blood. His image in the black qi began to grow unsteady, and then it faded into nothing. But just as that image faded, the elder's furious roar rang out. Brat, just wait. I'll definitely find who you are and kill your family, your sect. Within the Grand Han ancient nation, an elder's furious roar rang out from a tall tower that pierced the clouds. "Bastard, let me see just where that girl is." The elder extended his hands, pressing his thumbs against his 4 fingers consecutively. His expression suddenly changed. "How is this possible? Her fate is blocked from me? It's definitely just because I was injured. Then let's see who that idiot brat was." Bang. Just as the elder formed a hand seal, without any warning at all, half his body instantly exploded. "I'm impossible." A look of terror appeared on his face as he crazily roared. Countless white-robed experts flew to the top of the tower. Seeing that half the elder's body had exploded, they were all horrified. "Pavilion Master! Hurry up and bring me to the healers." The elder's expression sank. In the end, he glared coldly in a certain direction. That was the direction where Long Chen was. The black chi exploded. Long Chen used his thunder force to completely annihilate it. As for Hua Shiyu, she had already fainted. Her face was pale, and she had coughed up blood all over herself. Long Chen gently carried her to a bed. Examining her body, he saw that she had lost a great deal of her spirit blood, and her dantian had been deeply shaken. Fortunately, her soul hadn't been impacted. Other injuries could be resolved with medicinal pills, but injuries to the soul were troublesome. Those required a long time of slow nourishment. After giving Hua Shiyu a few more medicinal pills, Long Chen left, calling over Zhao Ziyan to look after Hua Shiyu. Hua Shiyu woke the next day. When Meng Qi, Tang Wan'er, and Long Chen came to see her, they saw that while she was still pale, there was a kind of indescribable Dao charm flowing within her eyes. "Congratulations on awakening as a rank 6 celestial." Tang Wan'er was shocked but happy for her. For someone who had 6 innate heavenly Dao runes, going from the 5th rank to the 6th rank was not called advancing, but awakening. "It's all thanks to Long Chen. However, it seems I've brought you more trouble." Hua Shiyu's voice was apologetic. "I'm a specialist in causing trouble. I like trouble and trouble likes me. I got used to it a long time ago." Long Chen shrugged. He had so much trouble that he didn't mind adding in some heavenly fate pavilion. No matter how amazing they were, he wouldn't just watch as one of his friends died without helping. So he was indifferent. "This is great news. The strength of the Shintian Dao sect has once more risen a level with your awakening as a rank 6 celestial." Mengqi smiled. "It's not just one level. Yesterday, I saw Wang Zhen summon many 9th rank insects. He was drilling them," said Zhao Ziyan. For everyone to improve was a good thing. Wang Zhen's mother insect had already reached the late 9th rank. Although its actual combat power hadn't increased, that wasn't what Wang Zhen needed. All he needed was its ability to suppress and lead other insects. With the mother insect's higher cultivation base, the other insects wouldn't rebel. These days he was raising a few insect kings. These insect kings would be the generals of his other insects. Their cultivation bases were at the mid-9th rank, and they would control an army of early 9th rank insects to fight. The role of the insect kings was very important, and so he had to pick out the best. He had them fight and kill each other until only the strongest survived. Only then would they have the ability to lead other insects. Wang Zhen's power was crazily rising, while Hua Shiyu had awakened as a rank 6 celestial. With her innate talent and combat power, as long as she didn't encounter a rank 7 celestial, she could probably dominate the Foundation forging realm. "What about Cloud? Why don't I see it?" asked Long Chen. "Wild and Cloud are out hunting. Cloud has been spoiled by you, and now it only eats the food it hunts itself. As for Wild, he eats like crazy. The two of them eat practically day and night. With the rations dropping day by day, the two of them went out." Meng Qi was a bit helpless about this. "That's fine. With Wild's power and Cloud's speed, they can easily flee if they encounter enemies they can't beat." Long Chen wasn't the slightest bit worried about the two of them. When it came to pure power, Wild wasn't weaker than him. Furthermore, Wild seemed to be in a very important state. He needed this food. "What about Gao Xianying? Is there any news from his side?" asked Long Chen. "No. It's like they've disappeared. You don't think something bad happened to them, do you?" guessed Zhao Ziyan. Impossible, right? Long Chen shook his head. How are you so sure? Meng Qi and the others were surprised. Because they're all bad people, and bad people don't die so easily. Long Chen shrugged. The others rolled their eyes. This kind of logic was absurd. But it was just a joke, so they didn't take it seriously. Oh. Just as they were talking, Long Chen frowned. What is it? Meng Qi, have you not sensed something odd? For example, some outsiders invading? Asked Long Chen. Oh, my 4 spiritual bells are completely fine. All the spiritual fluctuations around here are also normal. What is it? Said Meng Qi with some surprise. Is that so? Then that means some old friends have arrived. It's been such a long time. I really missed them. Long Chen smiled profoundly. He left the city lord mansion and appeared in the air. It was the afternoon now, and the sunlight was sprinkling over him. It was warm and comfortable, and there was even a gentle sea breeze. If it weren't for the strong scent of blood, it would be a very beautiful day. The occasional disciple saw him and bowed, receiving a nod and a smile from Long Chen. Just as Long Chen was smiling and greeting people, a sword suddenly appeared in the air behind him, stabbing straight at his back. The sword appeared merely a few feet from his back. It simply appeared there with no foundation, reaching his back in an instant. Who's there? Shouted Long Chen. He instantly shot into the air, just barely dodging the sword. Only once he was in the air did he see a stiff-faced man appear out of thin air. The attack had come from him. Right as he saw him, dozens of other figures appeared in the air and sharp blades stabbed toward Long Chen. It was like they had planned everything perfectly. They all attacked at the same time, sealing all his possible retreat paths. Furthermore, those sharp blades were completely silent. All their power was concentrated, and once it stabbed through him, it would erupt. These were terrifying assassins with attacks that had been concentrated to the pinnacle. Raging flames devour the heavens. Long Chen formed a hand seal and flame runes appeared, forming a barrier around him. Boom. When those attacks met the flames, a heaven-shaking explosion rang out and flames enveloped the sky. The flames continued to spread, devouring the assassins. But when the flames were about to touch them, their figures twisted strangely and they disappeared. The flames roared through the sky, causing the air to twist. All the disciples below were shocked and jumped into a battle state. While the flames were still raging through the sky and everyone still couldn't see things clearly, a sword silently cut through the flame barrier and slashed toward Long Chen. This sword was silent as it appeared, but once it pierced Long Chen's flame barrier, it exploded with light. It was like the sun, and killing intent shook the sky. The sword's power was instantly raised to a peak. That berserk power caused Xiantian City to shake. Most terrifying of all was how sudden this sword was coming and its timing. It was at the exact time when Long Chen was using his own move. It was perfectly timed for when his defenses were at their lowest point. Friends from the Bloodkill Hall, I've waited a long time for you. Following Long Chen's laughter, a blood-red saber slashed down from the sky. At the same time as the sword slashed through his flame barrier, Blood Drinker slashed down. Boom. The flames exploded and faded from the air. A figure smashed into the ground like a shooting star, crashing through the city walls and out of Xiantian City. After succeeding with this attack, Long Chen shot after him, once more slashing with his saber. That person snorted and his body twisted. He transformed into 8 figures that attacked Long Chen at the same time. Sword Qi tore through the air. Long Chen was shocked. These 8 bodies were all real bodies. If he only attacked one, he would definitely be struck by the other 7. He had no choice but to change moves. He swept out Blood Drinker, blocking the 8 attacks. But due to being forced to change moves, his power was weakened. He shot back, each step causing a large hole to appear in the ground. Truly worthy of being Long Chen. You haven't disappointed me. This person emotionlessly looked at Long Chen. His build was medium and his face was average. There didn't seem to be any special characteristic about his body. He looked the same as everyone else, and if he was thrown into a crowd, it'd be impossible to pick him out. But while fighting, his powerful aura had revealed itself. He was a powerful rank 7 celestial, and his cultivation base had reached the late foundation forging realm. You also haven't disappointed me. The Bloodkill Hall finally sent a decent assassin. What rank are you? Dark gold or violet gold? Long Chen indifferently looked at this man with his saber resting on his shoulder. The man from the Bloodkill Hall extended his arm, revealing a tattoo on the back of his hand. It was blood-colored and had 19 written on it in immortal characters. The bronze, silver, gold, dark gold, and violet gold rankings you're talking about are merely for weaker disciples. I am a core disciple the Bloodkill Hall has used its full strength to raise. I have no name, I have only a number. You can call me Bloodkill 19. Long Chen was shocked. Was this true or false? A rank 7 celestial was merely ranked 19th? Was the Bloodkill Hall truly so terrifying? You don't need to guess. Yes, amongst the core disciples of the Bloodkill Hall, I rank 19th, and there are still 19 more terrifying existences above me. The Bloodkill Hall's assassin seemed to see through Long Chen's thoughts. Do you think I don't know how to count? You're 19th, but there are still 19 people in front of you? Long Chen shook his head. There are truly 19. Bloodkill 1 is called the king amongst assassins, but there is another existence who has been called the god amongst assassins. Since they're a god, they aren't within the number system, answered the assassin. Why are you telling me this? To make me afraid, or to make me regret? Asked Long Chen coldly. To repent. Why would you repent to me? I want you to repent. The assassin finally lost his calm, killing intent surging out of him. Are you stupid? Why would I have to repent? Long Chen disdainfully looked at him. Was this a mental disorder? Boom. The assassin's aura suddenly erupted, and the 7 stars reflect on the runic sea manifestation appeared. You blasphemed the statue of the killing god in the eastern wasteland. You have to repent, repent in endless terror. The assassin no longer seemed cool-headed. Instead, he was berserk, as if Long Chen's words were completely intolerable to him. Long Chen looked at him, contempt appearing in his eyes. Your god isn't my god, so why do I have to respect it? All I know is that those who want to kill me have to understand what it feels like to be killed. I don't care whether they're a person or a god. Shameless blasphemer, face your death. The assassin suddenly disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already behind Long Chen, his sword stabbing forward. Long Chen summoned his divine ring and swung Blooddrinker out to block. The collision caused both of them to shoot back. Long Chen narrowed his eyes. This assassin had powerful combat skills. Was this supposed to mean that assassins who had reached this level no longer cared about the way of the assassin? No, that's wrong. Long Chen's expression suddenly changed, and he shot to the side. But a sword still left a long cut on his back, causing him to feel a fiery pain. His flesh began to emit smoke. That sword was clearly poisoned. So your anger was just an act to make me careless. Not bad, you almost succeeded, Long Chen said calmly as he sensed the pain on his back. This assassin was skilled in scheming. All those words he had said and his expression of anger had been faked. When he had summoned 8 split bodies and then looked like he had gathered them all back, he had actually hidden one secretly. Just as he erupted in fury, he disappeared using a secret art to hide himself. Normally, such a move wasn't that useful. But just as he hid his true body, his split body launched an attack, drawing his attention, and then the true body would suddenly launch a sneak attack. He had almost succeeded with this. Despite him being his enemy, Long Chen couldn't help but admire his tactics. At the same time, Long Chen was shocked by his enemy's ability to summon 8 split bodies that had the same power as his main body. Die! 2 figures shot at Long Chen, their speed almost impossible to track with the naked eye. Don't use the same move against me twice, it's insulting. Long Chen smiled coldly and slashed his saber in front of him, blocking the 2 attacks. At this time, another sword appeared behind him, stabbing toward his back. That sword had only just appeared when a lightning and a flame dragon surged out, blowing the sword and its owner to smithereens. Split the heavens 3. Long Chen suddenly flew into the air, and a huge saber image viciously slashed down. Boom! Just as the assassin was shocked by the death of one of his split bodies, Long Chen launched such a vicious attack. His two bodies went all out to defend, but they were still sent flying. Raging flames devour the heavens. Flames filled the world, covering all the land and the sky. Several hidden figures had no choice but to reveal themselves, as this time, Long Chen's attack was at full strength. He was no longer simply trying to block their vision. In front of Long Chen's full-strength attack, the assassin's split bodies were no longer able to hide. 7 figures materialized in different places, revealing just how crafty the assassin was. Even during this intense battle, he had secretly summoned split bodies in preparation for killing Long Chen. Suddenly, the flames vanished, revealing Long Chen holding a 3-foot-wide globe of light. He coldly stared at the assassin. Star fall. The globe smashed toward the ground like a shooting star. When it reached the assassin, it exploded. The assassin's expression changed. He didn't even have a chance to pull back his split bodies. He had to go all out blocking this terrifying attack. A wave of flames spread in every direction, even reaching Xiantian City. Fortunately, Li Qi and Song Mingyuan had long since made their preparations. They defended the city lord mansion with their earth energy, but the other places were instantly destroyed. Blood Shadow kills sword. As the flames filled the air, the assassin once more appeared. Now he was covered in blood, looking almost insane as he slashed his sword at Long Chen. Split the heavens 3. Long Chen had only just attacked when he suddenly realized something was off. The instant his saber touched the assassin's sword, the assassin exploded. Another split body. Long Chen spread a pair of lightning wings and flew into the air. His spiritual strength spread, but he wasn't able to find him. He really fled fast. Closing his eyes and using the 9-star hegemon body art senses, he could vaguely tell in which direction he had run. He couldn't help but curse. If only Cloud was present, he would have never gotten away. The assassin had come like lightning and run like lightning. He wasn't the slightest bit sloppy. He had even sacrificed another split body in order to give himself a chance to get away. Long Chen, how'd it go? Meng Qi and the others rushed over. Long Chen had warned them not to participate in his fight, because the Bloodkill Hall's assassins were too dangerous. He got away, said Long Chen helplessly. What about your side? We got them all, said Tangwan. Long Chen had known the attacker's identity from the start. The only ones who could slip past Meng Qi's spiritual net but be sensed by the 9-star hegemon body art were the assassins of the Bloodkill Hall. Furthermore, he had even sensed a slight familiarity, so he had been sure. And so everything had been arranged. But so I'm the only one who lost face and didn't accomplish their mission. Beauties, please hold me and comfort little brother's spirit, cried Long Chen helplessly. What he got in return was scolding laughter from Meng Qi and the others about how he was never proper, but it was Hua Shiyu who blushed slightly. After being sneak attacked by the Bloodkill Hall, Long Chen grew even more careful. Although Long Chen wasn't afraid of their assassinations, he was afraid of them switching targets. These shameless people were capable of doing anything. They kept saying they were the followers of the killing god and cultivated the Tao of assassination. But despite supposedly researching assassination arts, they put poison on their weapons. That was what he was disgusted by. Just because they had a god's inheritance, they did anything to achieve their goals. How was that a Tao? Long Chen looked down the most on those people who said they had a belief yet had no bottom line at all. The time he had been most disgusted with them was when he had been with the Mo family in Qin Prefecture. He had been attacked by the Bloodkill Hall on the streets, and in the end, they had even used a little girl only 3 or 4 years old to attack him. When that poison needle stabbed into his heart, his disgust toward the Bloodkill Hall also sank into his heart. Seeing that innocent and naive little girl had caused him to think of his own little sister, and in the end, he hadn't killed her. Instead, he had given her a path to live. He had made his resolve at that time. There was nothing to say to the Bloodkill Hall as there was no use in it. The enmity between them could no longer be resolved. Furthermore, he had never thought of ever resolving them. However many of them came was how many he would kill. These immoral assassins were really just a bunch of rotten murderers. They were the most terrifying foes because they would use any means necessary. So Long Chen was very careful these days, constantly circulating the 9-star hegemon body art. The Bloodkill Hall's assassins could slip through Meng Qi's spiritual strength, but they couldn't escape his spiritual perception. It was unknown whether they were now afraid or whether they were accumulating forces in secret, but no further attacks came. There was also no news from the heaven-suppressing magic sect, nor did Gao Xianyang and the others ever return. The days passed in a somewhat heavy atmosphere. A month passed. What comforted Long Chen was that the Dragon Blood Legion's power was rapidly rising each day. But he felt a bit helpless because the Yuan Spirit Stones were starting to run out. Rank 5 and Rank 6 Celestials needed more Yuan Spirit Stones to advance. Thus, the required number of Yuan Spirit Stones for the Dragon Blood Legion had multiplied. There hadn't even been enough before, so now, they were starting to reach the bottom. However, all the Dragon Blood Legion's warriors had reached at least the 6th heaven stage, and half had reached the 7th heaven stage. That speed was extremely shocking. It had to be known that currently, most of the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples were still at the 3rd heaven stage. There were a few at the 4th heaven stage, and only heavenly geniuses on the level of Hua Shiyu, Wang Zhen, and Zhao Ziyan had the qualifications to have reached the 5th heaven stage already. It could be said that Long Chen's 1 billion Yuan Spirit Stones had allowed him to raise a terrifying legion. On the other side, there was Hua Shiyu who had awakened as a rank 6 celestial. Furthermore, after being relieved of that curse, she seemed to be glowing. She even said she felt like she might advance to the 7th rank. That shocked everyone. But when Long Chen thought about it, he suddenly recalled another situation. That old ghost from the Heavenly Fate Pavilion had perhaps placed the curse on Hua Shiyu not just for her family's ancestral treasure. It might be the same kind of situation as Chu Yao had been in. That curse was like a seal over Hua Shiyu's energy, limiting her growth. Now that it had been released, her power was soaring every day without any sign of slowing down. Long Chen couldn't help but joke that he might have to hug her leg for protection in the future. But as soon as he said that, he sensed Meng Qi and Tang Wan'er's gazes turn odd. Hua Shiyu didn't retort, simply turning red. Even Zhao Ziyan looked at him oddly. At that time, he had wished to find a hole to bury himself in. It had just been a joke, but it was a huge mistake. Hua Shiyu's growth shocked everyone, but there was another person who was not any weaker than her. That was Wang Zhen. Others might not realize just how strong he was getting, but Long Chen had personally seen Wang Zhen's current insect army. Wang Zhen didn't hide anything from him, and he directly said that he now had 3,000 offensive insects and 5,000 defensive insects, all of which were at the 9th rank. Furthermore, he had more insects growing every day. Wang Zhen was in high spirits, no longer stuck at his old level. 8,000 9th rank insects. Just thinking about it made Long Chen's scalp turn numb. Wang Zhen was also soaring. On this day, Long Chen was thinking about how he was supposed to make more money when he heard a ruckus from outside. Then rumbling sounds rang out. Someone had actually started fighting. Long Chen went out and saw that it was Gao Xianyang, who had vanished for almost 2 months. For some reason, Gao Xianyang was now fighting Gu Yang in the distant sky. The warriors of the Dragon Blood Legion were around them, cheering for Gu Yang. What happened? Long Chen asked Song Mingyuan. This idiot Gao Xianyang just returned, and he said the beast tide is about to start. So he wants to discuss how they should arrange our defenses. This idiot, what has he done during this time? The defenses were long since completed by me and Li Qi, but now he wants to come and take advantage. How could we let him do as he pleases? During this time, Song Mingyuan and Li Qi had acted in accordance with Long Chen's instructions. Each day, they had used their earth energy to raise huge defensive walls 30,000 meters high and tens of millions of miles long. The two of them had worked themselves into panting dogs. Their defensive line had been turned into a funnel. Once the beast tide occurred, all the sea demons would be forced into it, allowing them to reduce their defensive line and making it easier. Now, Gao Xianyang, who had been gone for 2 months, returned to discuss the defenses. This was purely so he could split the merits of defending the beast tide once it happened. He wanted to take half the profits. That was absolutely shameless. Gu Yang had a temper, and he directly told Gao Xianyang that they were fine without him. He could go back to wherever he had come from. Then Gao Xianyang had pointed at Gu Yang's face and demanded who he thought he was. It was unknown whether or not Gu Yang had been infected by Long Chen, but Gu Yang immediately slapped him in the face. Then the two of them had flown into the air and started fighting. Hu Geshan, Fan Song, and the other disciples following Gao Xianyang were all shocked. Gu Yang was in the same generation as them. But now, he was able to fight equally with the top heavenly genius of the senior generation. They were unable to believe it. Most terrifying of all, when had Gu Yang become a rank 6 celestial? Hadn't he only been a rank 4 celestial when he first joined the sect? Were the rumors really true? The Shen Master was researching a secret formula to allow people to rapidly advance celestial ranks? When the Dragonblood Legion's warriors had all advanced to the 4th rank, they had shaken the entire Shen Tiandao sect. At that time, the Shen Master had announced that it was his own experiment. But the Shen Master was vague about the details, and others didn't dare to ask. As a result, there were countless guesses amongst the Shen Tiandao sect's disciples. One of them was that the Shen Master had come up with a new secret formula that could allow Celestials to rapidly advance ranks. But the possible consequences and sequelae of this method were unknown, and so he didn't distribute it widely. Now seeing Gu Yang had become a rank 6 Celestial, all of Gao Xianyang's people were shocked and filled with envy. They felt the Shen Master was biased. Even if they had to be guinea pigs, they were willing. But he didn't even give them that chance. This battle lasted a full 2 hours without either side winning. Gao Xianyang's cultivation base was higher, but Gu Yang still beat him in power. When Gao Xianyang used his full power but was still unable to defeat Gu Yang, he finally pulled back with a dark expression. Seeing Gao Xianyang stop, the Dragonblood Legion's disciples erupted into cheers. In fact, all the disciples on Long Chen's side cheered excitedly. All these disciples worshipped and revered the Dragonblood Legion because they fought alongside them as brothers in battle. Seeing Gu Yang was able to match Gao Xianyang, they felt their blood boiling. Long Chen, what do you think you're doing? Is this how you treat your fellow sect disciples? Don't forget, we're both leading a group to defend against the beast tide this time. You aren't some local king. Gao Xianyang's face was green as he pointed his spear at Long Chen. Today, he had lost all his face. Correct, we are both leading our own group. When we arrived here, you immediately brought your group away and didn't try contacting us. As for me, I took over the city, becoming the new city lord. You will lead your group, and I will defend the city. There's no need for us to interfere with each other. Weren't things going quite well before this? To avoid any conflicts, we should continue like that. You can lead your group away without any communication, and I will continue defending my city, said Long Chen indifferently. What bullshit! The sea is now completely calm, and the sea demons refuse to appear at all now. That means the beast tide is about to erupt. What am I supposed to do? Raged Gao Xianyang. What does that have to do with me? You're the one who led your people away with the only working flying boat. Did you once think of us? Now that we're prepared, you return to disturb us? Let me warn you, my temper's not good, so try not to provoke me. If you think you can stay, then stay. If you can't stay, then scram. As for whatever comes from the beast tide, since we're from the same sect, I'll give you some advice, declared Long Chen. What advice? Come at me if you can, fuck off if you can't. Long Chen waved his hand and returned to the city lord mansion without looking back at Gao Xianyang. The other disciples on his side also dispersed, leaving only Gao Xianyang's group foolishly standing there, staring. Clearly, Long Chen would not welcome them here. Gao Xianyang had gone too far before and offended all of them. Thus, none of them wanted to fight alongside him. Didn't he think himself to be a badass? Now he could continue acting badass. We really went a bit too far this time. Why don't we apologize to Long Chen? Considering his straightforward and candid character, said Fan Song. Gao Xinying slapped him across the face, sending him flying. Fan Song coughed up blood. Gao Xinying roared, "Who does Long Chen think he is? Why should I have to apologize to him?" Looking at Long Chen's parting figure, Gao Xinying was filled with rancor. Just looking at his current state made others shiver. As for Fan Song, he was filled with fury as others helped him up. But in the end he didn't dare to say anything. Having only tied with Gu Yang, Gao Xinying's prestige dropped to an all-time low. As for the Dragon Blood Legion, its position in the hearts of the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples rose to an all-time high. This battle had allowed them to show that the Dragon Blood Legion didn't just have an unrivaled leader, but it also had a group of terrifying monsters. No member of the Dragon Blood Legion was ordinary. Another few days passed calmly. Gao Xinying's group didn't leave. They simply set up camp outside Xiantian City, maintaining a certain distance from everyone else. Long Chen didn't bother with Gao Xinying. He didn't ask what they were doing and simply gave them the cold shoulder. In the end, Gao Xinying couldn't bear it any longer and decided to lower his head. He sent Fan Song to report what they had done during this time. "Long Chen, this is the route we took during the past few days in the martial heaven searing. I heard you were attacked by the heaven-suppressing magic sect's disciples, but I am willing to use my head to guarantee that this matter has nothing to do with us." Fan Song looked at Long Chen with a complicated expression. Back when Long Chen had joined the Xiantian Dao sect, they hadn't placed him in their eyes. They had employed various means to suppress his growth, but now the two of them were not even close to the same level. Long Chen was at a height he could only look up to. "I know. The heaven-suppressing magic sect placed markers on the flying boats hundreds of years ago. I don't suspect you," said Long Chen. He had once suspected them, but he kept feeling like that wasn't likely. If Gao Xinying did this, then he couldn't comprehend his motives. This didn't have the slightest benefit to Gao Xinying. The heaven-suppressing magic sect cultivated magical arts. They wouldn't accept him as a disciple. Doing this would just be destroying his own path. Even if Gao Xinying were to betray the Xiantian Dao sect, two conditions needed to be met. First, there had to be enough enticement, and second, he had to be guaranteed that he would be protected from the sect's wrath. The heaven-suppressing magic sect was unable to offer him these two things. If he betrayed the Xiantian Dao sect, then no matter how many benefits he got from it, he would be chased down by the Xiantian Dao sect. No matter how great the benefits, he wouldn't have a life to enjoy them. So Long Chen had refused to believe that Gao Xinying had sold them out. Later, Guoran had investigated the flying boats, and in an extremely hidden part of its core, he had found a certain addition. That addition had allowed the heaven-suppressing magic sect to tell how many people were on that particular flying boat and its position. That was what had resulted in their accurate sneak attack. Su Mo and Mu Qingxian had been leading the largest group, and they weren't the heaven-suppressing magic sect's ultimate goal, so they had instead chosen to attack the 10,000 Insect Guild, Heaven Female Alliance, and Dragon Blood Legion. Afterward, Long Chen couldn't help sighing emotionally. 1,000 calculations could still end up off. The slightest hole resulted in heaven-suppressing magic sect's plans going out of control. Thereafter, Long Chen had investigated all of Xiantian City. Anything that wasn't necessary had been tossed out into the sea by Cloud, and only then did he feel more at ease. Gao Xinying sent me to say that the beast tide is about to erupt. As fellow members of the Xiantian Dao sect, we should all work together, probed Fan Song. He's worried about there being no portion for him when the contributions of each person are evaluated. Long Chen shook his head. Cough. Well, we're all fellow disciples and occasional fighting is normal. But at a critical time, we should be united, said Fan Song. He felt very awkward. Yes, that is correct. If he is obedient and listens to directions, I won't toss him out. But if he wants to fight against me over leadership, I'll kick him out immediately. If he causes any trouble at a critical time, I will kill him, said Long Chen coldly. Yes, I will tell him what you said. Fan Song's heart shook. Long Chen was no longer his old self. If he wanted to kill Gao Xinying, then with that many experts under his command, not even 10 lives would be enough. Other than that, did you sense anything suspicious while you were out hunting? Long Chen looked Fan Song in the eye. No. Fan Song shook his head. Then you can go. Long Chen nodded and smiled. Fan Song had only just gotten up from a bow and turned to leave when Long Chen added, when you go back, you should consider whether your loyalties lie with Gao Xianyang, the Law Enforcement Hall, or the Xiantian Dao sect. Fan Song shook slightly before he left. The next day, Fan Song returned and told him that Gao Xianyang had agreed to Long Chen's requests. He would listen to his orders. Long Chen smiled. He seemed to understand something, but he didn't say anything. You can decide some things after you think them through. Long Chen looked at Fan Song, who was simply standing there without moving, seeming to be struggling with himself. Fan Song clenched his teeth. He finally said, while we were out at sea, Gao Xianyang went deep into the sea on his own to investigate the movements of the sea demons. He was once gone for a day and night. Long Chen nodded. Good. I'm glad you still know you are a disciple of the Xiantian Dao sect. Go and be careful. Fan Song nodded and thanked Long Chen before leaving. Alone in his room, Long Chen looked at where the sea met the land through the window. He muttered to himself, gone for a day and night? That's normal. Time passed day by day. Suddenly, the day came when the sea began to rise and huge waves crashed onto the land. Everyone gather. The beast tide is erupting. Brothers, the chance to get rich has come, shouted Gu Yang. The first half of his words had dignity, but the latter half didn't. However, this shout caused the tense atmosphere to relax a great deal. All the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples gathered. Almost 300,000 disciples rushed over to the shore. Once they were there, they saw that the water was rolling like it was boiling. Huge waves continuously crashed against the shore, and the water level continuously rose. Ear-piercing cries began to ring out from the depths of the sea. The land was quivering, causing these disciples' expressions to change. They had never seen such a terrifying phenomenon. Everyone, don't panic. This is the result of millions and millions of sea demons charging out from the depths of the sea. It's very normal, explained Long Chen. Prepare yourselves. Form up your formations. The Dragon Blood Legion will take the center, Hua Shiyu and Su Mo will lead the two wings, while Gao Xianyang's people will take the tail. Get ready to attack. The Dragon Blood Legion charged forward, looking like the head of an arrow. Hua Shiyu and Su Mo led their armies to act as the two wings, while Gao Xianyang brought up the rear. Gao Xianyang looked gloomily at Long Chen, but he obediently acted as the rear. Boom! The sea exploded and countless huge figures charged out, rushing at them. There were all kinds of sea demons. They were like small mountains coming at them, each one of them bringing the stench of blood. Kill. Let these sea demons know what true power is, roared a dragon-mark warrior upon seeing this endless tide of sea demons. They are only 6th-rank sea demons. What's there to be so excited about? Another dragon-mark warrior rolled his eyes at him. Although these sea demons were large, they were just at the 6th rank. The disciples could annihilate masses of them with a wave of their hands. Thus, they weren't even a challenge. Shouting so excitedly was making a fuss out of nothing. But the Dragonblood warriors reflexively entered their combat state. As long as they were with Long Chen and a battle started, their blood would start to boil out of their control. With everyone gathered in front of the sea, attacks continuously landed amongst the sea demons, killing them rapidly. Their blood dyed the sea red. Seeing the essence blood of these sea demons be absorbed so quickly by the sea, Long Chen couldn't help but wonder. The Grand Tao was formless. The Grand Tao was emotionless. In front of the Grand Tao, all lives might look free, but in reality, they were silently controlled by the heavenly Taos. These low-ranking sea demons proliferated in huge numbers, threatening the benefits of the high-ranking sea demons. It was unknown what technique they were using, but those high-ranking sea demons were controlling these mindless sea demons to attack the human race. Once they were killed, their essence blood would flow into the sea, strengthening the spiritual qi in it. Perhaps this was the goal of the rulers of the sea. The ones to benefit from this essence blood were the high-ranking sea demons. But what about the human race? Who was benefiting there from this battle? Who agreed with the rulers of the sea demons to fight like this? This bloody slaughter had no mercy on either side. Pity and compassion weren't worth a single copper coin in front of it. Although a sea demon was also a living being, if the humans didn't kill them, they would break out of their blockade and kill the innocent creatures on the continent. Slaughter was cruel. It was barbarous and brutal. But sometimes, slaughter was the only way to resolve problems. In this world, there was no absolute truth that everyone believed in. Otherwise, there wouldn't be all kinds of beliefs. Even gods would have different opinions and fight. So when there was no way to reason things out, any life form with intelligence would instinctively start fighting. There were too many sea demons attacking. Since they were all 6th-rank sea demons, no one went to gather their nadens. One reason was because they were too busy, and the other reason was that they looked down on their nadens. In the eastern wasteland, a good 6th-rank sea demon's naden could be exchanged for a whole city. But here, nadens were everywhere, and nobody could be bothered to pick them up. On the shore, the 10,000 Insect Guild's disciples were killing any sea demons that slipped through, completely blocking them from proceeding. What shocked people was that the beast tide this time was crazy. The disciples slaughtered into the 3rd day before 7th and 8th rank sea demons appeared. At this time, the sea demon corpses had piled into mountains. Long Chen placed himself in charge of gathering these corpses. With a wave of his hand, the corpses entered the primal chaos space, falling into the black soil. The primal chaos space was 300,000 miles wide now, and the black soil was 3,000 miles wide. It was like a huge gaping mouth, crazily devouring the corpses. At this moment, life energy filled the entire primal chaos space. As more and more sea demon corpses piled in the primal chaos space, they were all devoured by the black soil and released boundless life energy. This life energy had nowhere to go. The iron spruce oaks had grown to their peak and couldn't absorb any more life energy. Hence, the surplus ended up condensing into a faint mist. This mist contains life energy. Long Chen was surprised to sense the life energy fluctuations within the mist. He quickly gathered more corpses. Eventually, 9th-rank sea demons began to appear, increasing the pressure. 9th-rank sea demons had powerful defenses and attacks, and their numbers were insane. "Retreat to the first defensive line," shouted Long Chen. Everyone fell back to the cliffside. The cliff was 300 meters high, and the water was unable to creep over it. However, to a 9th-rank sea demon, such a cliff was nothing more than a small stair. Once the disciples were there, they changed formations, forming a line. They attacked the 9th-rank sea demons. Each faction had a group of people focused on gathering the nadens. 9th-rank sea demons' nadens were good things that couldn't be wasted. But no one went for their corpses. However, the bodies of 9th-rank sea demons were too huge, and that would affect the battle. Long Chen was constantly gathering them. Seeing Long Chen constantly working to clean up the corpses, the Shen Tian Dao sect's disciples were filled with admiration. Despite being a peerless expert and a leader of hundreds of thousands of disciples, he actually took it upon himself to do the work of cleaning up after everyone. There probably wasn't a single heavenly genius capable of being as low-key as that. Senior apprentice brother Long Chen, how could such work be left for you? Let me handle it. Some of the disciples couldn't bear to see a peerless expert like Long Chen cleaning up after them. Their faces burned, and they started helping. "Hey, stop. Don't worry about it, I'll handle this. Your spatial rings are limited and will fill up quickly, plus you'd have to go out far to get the corpses. But don't worry, I prepared a large number of storage devices before this, so it's best if I do it." Long Chen immediately stopped them from helping. These corpses were his treasures. He couldn't give them to others. Then senior apprentice brother Long Chen, how about you hand the storage devices to me? "For you to personally do such a thing is a bit unsuitable," said a disciple. "How is it unsuitable? You're spilling blood and risking your lives to kill these sea demons. Why can't I pick up a bit of trash? Go, get back to work." Long Chen flapped his hand at them. Those disciples were all filled with admiration. Quite a few people stealthily glanced at Gao Xianyang in the distance, comparing him to Long Chen. His hands were clasped behind his back as he arrogantly looked over the battlefield, not helping at all. Thus, a contemptuous expression appeared on quite a few people's faces. Long Chen was the #1 disciple of the Xintian Dao sect. Such an amazing figure was personally cleaning up the battlefield. Did Gao Xianyang not feel embarrassed to act so arrogant? In comparison, they all liked Long Chen's way of deeply reserving himself. This was why people with real skills liked to be low-key. They had the power to stand out at any moment. In reality, how was Long Chen being low-key? He was happily profiting. With this many corpses entering his primal chaos space, the mist in the air grew even denser. After a few hours, the sea demons became even more berserk. Mid-9th rank sea demons also appeared, increasing the pressure on the disciples. They once more fell back, arriving at the center of the funnel terrain that Li Qi and Song Mingyuan had made. Their defensive zone had shrunk a great deal here, making the defensive line stronger. Guoran, there are too many 9th rank sea demons. Clean them up a bit, shouted Long Chen. Alright boss. Don't kick me, I'm going. Guoran had been about to shout his slogan when Long Chen raised his foot. Guoran immediately shot off. Using a huge crossbow, Guoran shot a dozen arrows out at the sea demons. Huge explosions rang out as blood and flesh flew through the air. Huge holes 100 miles wide appeared in the encroaching sea demon army. Seeing all the 9th rank sea demons in those areas being killed instantly, the disciples were stunned. Although they had seen how powerful Guoran's exploding arrows could be, their power was now absolutely horrifying. A dozen arrows emptied a great portion of the battlefield. Long Chen waved a hand and gathered their broken corpses. While he extracted the corpses, he also pulled out their nadens. The corpses landed in the black soil while he kept the nadens stored away. As more time passed, more sea demons appeared. Now, there were no longer any sea demons below the 9th rank. The battlefield was pitch black with huge sea demons. Late 9th rank ones had appeared as well. Meng Qi had summoned 36 house pets to assist in the battle, and she finally let Cloud, who had been impatient from the start killing the 9th rank sea demons. It had already advanced to the mid-8th rank, and killing these sea demons was incredibly easy for it. Even mid-9th rank sea demons could be killed in one blow. Wang Zhen had also revealed his terrifying power. 13,000 9th rank insects had appeared. They charged through the sea demon army, completely unstoppable. Hua Xiu was surrounded by flower petals. The powerful armor of the sea demons was as weak as tofu in front of her. They were killed in droves. Tang Wanner had also summoned a sea of wind blades. Just like Hua Xiu, she unleashed large-scale death on the sea demons. Because there were too many sea demons, even Yu Zifeng, Gu Yang, Song Mingyuan, Li Qi, and the others were forced to participate. With even rank 6 celestials attacking, the sea demons were annihilated as quickly as they came. Fan Song was scared witless. Even his old opponents, Hua Xiu and Wang Zhen, were releasing shocking battle prowess. They could now annihilate him instantly. As for Gao Xianyang and Hu Guishan, they were shocked, furious, and envious. Even their eyes turned red from envy. They were completely unable to understand how they had become so powerful. If Long Chen was powerful, that was fine. After all, he was a monster. But now every person by Long Chen's side was also terrifying. Even Wang Zhen and Hua Xiu were stunning. At this time, Gao Xianyang also attacked. Sword Qi swept out. His killing power was also amazing, but when compared to the likes of Tang Wanner, Hua Xiu, and Wang Zhen, it was lackluster. Those disciples following Gao Xianyang had somewhat odd expressions, but in the midst of this fierce battle, they didn't deliberately display them. However, Gao Xianyang's gaze was icy cold. Looking at Long Chen and the others, his expression was extremely gloomy. Long Chen didn't pay attention to the changes in Gao Xianyang's expression. He was busy gathering the sea demons' corpses. The mist in the primal chaos space grew so dense that he practically couldn't see his hand if he stuck it in front of his face. This mist was a condensed version of life energy. As more corpses were devoured by the black soil, it grew denser until, drip. Suddenly, a light sound rang within the primal chaos space and immediately drew Long Chen's attention. He hastily went in to search for the source of the sound and saw a little sapling beside the heavenly Dao tree that was only a foot tall. This little sapling had appeared without him sensing anything. It had no branches. Instead, its crown abruptly split into 3 leaves. The leaves were the size of a palm and emerald green. They shone softly, giving him a comfortable feeling. It was like looking at them could allow a person to forget all their struggles. There were veins on the leaves that looked just like ordinary leaves, and yet they contained some kind of ineffable Dao charm. Drip. Just at this moment, the dewdrops atop one of the leaves drew together and fell to the ground. When the drop fell to the ground, it was rapidly absorbed, filling the primal chaos space with life energy. Drip. Another drop condensed. Long Chen reached out his hand and caught it. This is divine life elixir? Long Chen was filled with shock as he sensed the life energy in the drop. This drop was practically the same as the miraculous healing liquid that the spirit world's expert had given him all those years ago. But the life energy within this one was many times stronger. I've become able to condense divine life elixir? Long Chen's heart pounded. He quickly took out 3 jade bottles and placed them below the sapling, gathering the divine life elixir that fell from its leaves. Long Chen suddenly understood what was going on. When the primal chaos space's life energy accumulated to a certain level of saturation, it would give birth to this small tree to release the divine life elixir. This process was slow. He saw that condensing 1 drop took a few breaths, and after gathering 3 drops, no more came. HM? Is there not enough energy? Long Chen suddenly thought of the crux of the problem. Boss, the line's getting shaky. Suddenly, Guarant's cry drew him out of his contemplation. His mind exited the primal chaos space and returned to reality. Seeing the scene in front of him, he jumped in shock. At some unknown point, the 9th rank sea demons had begun coming in literal waves. They stacked on top of each other, forming a true beast tide. It was impossible to see the land any longer, as it was drowned out by the beast tide. Even Wild was fighting now, but he was still unable to stop these waves of sea demons that seemed to be pushed onward by some mysterious energy. Starfall. Without even thinking about it, Long Chen summoned a starfall. A large globe fell amongst the sea demon tide. Boom. The battlefield became empty. Thousands of miles of sea demons were killed. Boss is mighty. The Dragon Blood Legion cheered. Long Chen's attack had cleaned up the battlefield in an instant. Now the land was a mass of flesh and blood. It was a frightening scene. Gao Xinyang was originally filled with envy, but Long Chen's attack completely broke that envy. His envy transformed into terror. After not seeing Long Chen for just such a short time, he had become so terrifying. He no longer had the qualifications to even challenge Long Chen. With a wave of his hand, Long Chen pulled in the broken bits of flesh. Even the Nadens had been broken under the power of his star fall, but he didn't mind. Just getting the flesh was enough. As more flesh poured into the primal chaos space, through the black soil's transformation, the divine life elixir began to slowly drip once again. Long Chen stood at the front of the battlefield, constantly gathering sea demon corpses. He also controlled the rhythm of the battle. As soon as people started to find it taxing, he would unleash a supreme attack. Rainbow-colored light flashed through the battlefield. There were so many sea demons that Cloud was also getting full. Now it was picking its prey. It picked out the armored sea demons to eat. According to Meng Qi, these armored sea demons had more energy and tasted better to Cloud. Previously, it ate everything because there was nothing to eat. Now there was a literal tide of sea demons, and it was picking out the armored sea demons. Its body was rapidly growing, and its aura was growing more terrifying. It had already reached the late 8th rank. But just at the 8th rank, its aura caused Meng Qi's 9th rank magical beasts to feel terror. They didn't dare to approach it. Cloud had its own mysterious inheritance, and it had its own way to recover its innate deficiency. Furthermore, its growth was very stable. There was no sign of a shaky foundation at all. Now, Meng-Chi didn't even need to look after Cloud. She allowed it to devour things as it willed. The most terrifying innate talent of Cloud was its bottomless stomach. It was like its own world. It could be used to store things, and it could also be used to kill. No matter how powerful the 9th-rank sea demon, once it was in its stomach, they would be turned to bits. This was the terror of an ancient species. On the other hand, Wild was different from Cloud. He wasn't picky about his food and ate whatever was in front of him. Furthermore, he was impervious to poison. He didn't even refuse the sea demons that unleashed intense toxic fumes. Wild had hundreds of peak storage rings on him, and each of them had a space of 300 miles. However, the majority of them were filled even though Wild had been crazily eating while fighting. Seeing Wild just casually toss sea demons into his mouth caused the disciples' eyes to almost pop out. Just who was the sea demon? Was there no normal person in the Dragonblood Legion? Long Chen was busy gathering sea demons' corpses. There were so many of them that he couldn't even keep up. The battle was extremely intense. The Dragonblood Legion was still fine, but casualties had started to appear in other places. Dragonblood Legion, hold the line. The other factions slowly retreat and shrink your defensive line, ordered Long Chen. Even though he felt like he had originally already overestimated the scale of the beast tide, he hadn't thought it would be this terrifying. After unleashing Starfall 3 consecutive times, he no longer dared to continue. Starfall was powerful, but he had to maintain his energy to handle the unexpected. This was something Long Chen had formed a habit of. No matter what time it was, he kept things in reserve for the unpredictable. Otherwise, he'd have long since died. Everyone continued to retreat. They had already retreated to just 300 miles in front of Xiantian City, and the original 2 million miles defensive line had shrunk to just less than 10,000 miles. The Xiantian Dao sect's disciples grew more concentrated, strengthening their defense. But the sea demons were also overflowing. Long Chen ordered Wild, Gu Yang, Yu Zifeng, Song Mingyuan, Li Qi, Tang Wan, and the others to leave the defensive line and charge into the midst of the sea demon army. All of Meng Qi's house pets had been summoned and had formed a huge army alongside Wang Zhen's insects. She had to control the magical beasts and couldn't go out like the others. Long Chen led the Dragonblood Legion's elites to the very front. They formed the first line, while Hua Shiyu, Su Mo, Mu Qingxian, Gao Xianyang, Hu Guishan, Fan Song, and the other top experts formed the second line. After going through their 2 obstructions, the number of sea demons that reached the rest of the disciples dropped by over a half. The pressure immediately lightened. Long Chen unleashed huge saber images with Blood Drinker, killing the sea demons en masse. Blood filled the air. He had also summoned Lei Long and Hua Long. They helped him annihilate the sea demon army. Right now, there were too many sea demons. Nadens littered the ground, but no one had time to gather them. When the corpses piled into mountains and restricted their lines of sight, he would clean up the battlefield quickly before continuing to kill. Blood covered the ground as the battle continued. After fighting for a whole day and night, they were shocked to find that the sea demon army still didn't show any signs of stopping. Long Chen's expression sank. He had miscalculated. This time, the scale of the beast tide had surpassed any of its predecessors in recorded history. Furthermore, because of the heaven-suppressing magic sect's sneak attack, they hadn't dared to go out hunting. That was why they hadn't been able to predict the strength of the beast tide. If they had been constantly hunting sea demons during this time, the pressure during the beast tide would be much less. Now they were enduring an endless assault of the sea demon army. As Long Chen crazily killed, a delighted expression suddenly appeared on his face. He shouted, "Brothers, the beast tide is about to end. The martial heaven searing's tide is starting to retreat." Long Chen saw that the water level was starting to drop. That was a sign the beast tide would start weakening. This was the best news possible for the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples who were exhausted and had been injured all over. This huge battle had been taxing physically and mentally. Furthermore, seeing the occasional disciple beside them fall caused the mental pressure to increase even further. Hearing Long Chen, their morale surged and they were invigorated. The only faction that was still complete was the Dragonblood Legion. That was because they had a terrifying group of healers. The 50 rank 6 celestial healers kept a close watch over the Dragonblood Legion. As soon as someone was injured, they would immediately use a long-range healing art on them. Furthermore, they had large-scale recovery arts active at practically all times. The Dragonblood Legion had gone all-out killing during this time, and while others were exhausted, they were still full of strength. Their combat power remained at their peak state. Ha, how lively! But your excitement is a bit too early. When the beast tide ends, so will your lives. Suddenly, a sneer rang out over the battlefield. A group of people appeared at the center of Xiantian City, behind their defensive lines. There were over 100,000 of them blocking the Xiantian Dao sect's path of retreat. The ones at the front were the heaven-suppressing magic sects Han Zhenyu and the Horned Expert. Other than those two, there was another half-man half-bird. He was also an ancient race expert. He had a pair of wings and a bird's beak. Long Chen in the eastern wasteland, did you once think such a day would come for you when you butchered my ancient race's experts? Sneered the half-man half-bird hybrid. His eagle-like eyes glared at Long Chen. Everyone, don't panic. Keep fighting. I'll handle it. Just as their arrival caused the Xiantian Dao sect to grow panicked, Long Chen calmed them. The Dragonblood Legion was still going all out, blocking the majority of the sea demons. Now the other disciples recovered and focused on fighting once more. Even in the midst of despair, Long Chen's presence comforted them. In most of their hearts, he was like a god, more trustworthy than anyone else. The ancient races? It seems that after the scar heals, you'll forget your lesson. No matter how many times I beat you up, you never stop coming to provoke me. Long Chen turned to the birdman and clasped his hands behind his back. With his back turned, those people didn't see Long Chen's hands form some strange gestures. In the middle of the fighting, Guoran immediately understood what he was saying. He stealthily took out a jade tablet and activated a mark on it. A wave of energy silently entered deep into the ground. Long Chen, you can't escape this time. Not only will you die, but the rest will follow you as well. Don't struggle and just let the sea demons eat you. Why bother suffering through pain? Sneered Han Zhenyu. Han Zhenyu, aren't you afraid the Dao sect will take its vengeance on you if you attack us so openly? Long Chen narrowed his eyes. This was the point he was most suspicious of. He couldn't figure out just what the heaven-suppressing magic sect was relying on to publicly attack the Xiantian Dao sect. Vengeance? What a joke. We should be the ones taking vengeance on your Xiantian Dao sect. The Xiantian Dao sect betrayed our trust. We signed a contract for joint training, but during the training, your side viciously massacred disciples of my heaven-suppressing magic sect. The proof is right here, so do you still want to argue? Han Zhenyu smiled and took out a photographic jade. It recorded a scene of Gao Xianyang and Han Zhenyu signing a contract. But the exact contents weren't clear. Long Chen, Gao Xianyang and Hu Geishan have suddenly disappeared. Just at this moment, Long Chen received a message from Fan Song. Long Chen narrowed his eyes. This wasn't normal. How could Gao Xianyang have been colluding with Han Zhenyu from the start? So that's what it was. After failing your sneak attack and taking such heavy losses, you decided to make up for it by going to Gao Xianyang. You only signed this contract after your sneak attack failed. Long Chen suddenly laughed. Fan Song had said that Gao Xianyang had disappeared before returning. He had to have signed this thing at that time. Gao Xianyang could count as one of the leading representatives of the mission this time. If he signed a contract for a friendly exchange of pointers, and the date was listed as before that sneak attack occurred, the heaven-suppressing magic sect would have an excuse to attack the Xiantian Dao sect's disciples. Long Chen quibbling has no meaning now. You and Gao Xianyang despicably killed tens of thousands of my heaven-suppressing magic sect's elites. Even if we kill you all today, we'd still be standing on the side of reason. Furthermore, don't think that anyone will come and save you. Kings cannot enter this place, or if they broke the Martial Heaven Alliance's rules, they and all of you would be killed. I already can't wait to see your expression of despair and terror, ha! Laughed Han Zhenyu. Sorry, I never have times of terror or despair, so you won't be able to see it. However, I'll quickly be able to see the scene of you running like a dog again. Guoran, what are you still waiting for? Send our guests their gift. Sneered Long Chen. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.